Alright, we're officially live. Or something like that. Oh wow, this...
Cool.
I don't know if I thought this filter through all the way. I would have to have another stab at it. It looked way better in the preview.
Yeah, I mean, I think mine looks alright, actually. Mine looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that.
Oh, maybe it's because my zoom is messed up. Hold on.
Those aren't costumes. No, we went the cheap route, Grins. We decided to do something last minute, like literally 2 or 3 minutes ago. We decided we were going to do this, and I found a filter on my camera that worked just fine. Brian didn't like it, so he's trying to make a custom one.
Okay. My autofocus was going crazy, but I figured it out. I think I might stick with this super dark kind of thing going on.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I think the darker the better. Yeah,
yeah,
pretty cool.
This is the sickness filter. Look at this. This is the same one that you're using. Apparently, supposedly.
Yeah, mine just does this straight away.
Mine's like super grainy. I don't know.
This is super light sensitive though. If I go anywhere near the light sensor, like the whole thing blacks out in the background. It's really weird. So yeah.
Oh my gosh. I kind of like this one though. I don't know if I want my additional lighting on or not. I guess I should. I don't know.
Yeah, I think if I turn my stream lights off, I think it goes a bit too far the other way. It's like,
oh wow, that is some high contrast, my friend.
But you at least you can see the keyboards in the background, right?
Yeah, that's all you want to see. Right?
Yeah, just the keyboards.
Not that I've ever used any, but it kind of reminds me of night vision goggles.
yeah, it's that kind of thing. Yeah. Okay, before we do anything further, let's do just a couple of shout outs. Meister Grinsapo, thank you very much for the 8 months of Twitch Prime subs. It says sup clackers. Yeah. There was another couple. Slim Thickens with Twitch Prime, subscribed for 5 months, 5-month streak. Thank you very much, my dude. And 159, and now hitting a 12-month subs. So that's a whole year. Saying, where are your costumes?
Your camera died, Jay. I think
my camera died. No,
yeah.
It's fine in Cisco for me.
Check out the stream.
Yeah, it's still pinned in WebEx. It's still visible for me.
Fantastic. This is some classic top clackery, all right? I'm not really sure.
Yeah, it's still there for me. Hold on, I'm gonna send you proof that it's still there for me.
I believe you. I'd rather us try to figure this out first.
Yeah. It looks like.
I don't know why this is happening.
I think you need to leave the WebEx and rejoin it.
All right.
It's saying you've got low band. It says you've got low bandwidth at the minute.
It says I've got low bandwidth? Huh.
Yeah.
Wonder if my internet's having trouble right now or something then.
Just as proof, guys. I know you can't see me, but here's the proof that it's working from my end.
This is yeah. I think we all believe you. You're a relatively trustworthy person, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty trustworthy. I like to think.
That's what you'd like us to believe, at least. All right, I'm rejoining this call.
Yeah, your old one hasn't even left. That's yeah, your old join hasn't even left.
All right, let me try this again. I'll leave that. This is part of why we go live so early, guys. So we so we can make all these mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know you can't see me, guys. So this is really weird. But I'm speaking to you from the beyond. I am not here. I'm passed on.
Why haven't?
Can you see your old using him in the... That's the problem.
I don't know why it's there, though. Like, I've completely closed all of it. Alright, let me take this to the task manager. Let me know if you see it leave. It's gone. Alright, cool. Let's start this from scratch then. Sorry about this, guys. What a terrible day.
Let's just blame Brian. Yeah, let's just blame Brian because, yeah, it's Brian.
Well, probably.
Okay.
Hey, I got you back. You're getting doxxed?
There we go. Yeah, because it shows my real name on the WebEx, but it's fine.
Everyone knows your real name.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay, well, we have you back now. That's what matters. Hopefully, that won't happen again. I don't...
Wait.
I guess if it does, then maybe my internet is dying or something.
Yeah.
Which would be most unfortunate. That almost never happens in ThicThock, though.
Yeah, interesting, right? It did say that you'd got a lot of bandwidth, so I don't know if it had just got a terrible connection or something like that.
I'm not really sure. Anyways, back on track here.
Eskimo Joe saying Jay can't spell his name, shaking my head. That's how my parents spell it, man. That's how my parents spell it.
It's not his fault. Well, I guess it could be, because you could legally change your name.
Yeah, but I'm 35. Why would I change my name?
I'm not saying you should, but it is your fault.
No, that's not okay. I like it how it is. And anyway, Eskimo Joe wants to speak as well, because is it Eskimo Joe or is it Eski Mojo? So you must get that all the time. So yeah, you're one to speak there, dude.
I'm pretty sure it's Eskimo Joe. If I were a betting man, and God darn it, I sure am.
Well, we actually met Eskimo Joe and I at the Leeds meetup. So yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That was last weekend, right?
It was this weekend just gone. Yeah, Saturday. This weekend just gone. Yeah.
Nice.
10 Strong says, "Is this what color corrected monitors see all the time?" Pretty much, dude. Pretty much.
Yeah. Everyone that joins without having us tell them what's going on is probably gonna wonder what the heck is going on with our cameras. This is totally intentional, guys. Don't worry. This is supposed to be like a bullshit, spooky Halloween kind of filter sort of thing. We know it's cheesy and dumb. We know that. Trust me. Welcome to Top Clack. Pilot XJ just subs tier 1 for 9 months in a row. Thank you so much, man. Says, I have been here long enough for us to have a baby together. What would its name be? Wow. A Top Clack X Pilot XJ baby.
It depends. Boy or girl, I guess needs to be the first.
Nah, either way, it's just gonna be like Top Lot XJ probably.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I can't think of anything more clever.
Yeah, it's 1 a.m. here. I'm not gonna think of anything clever at this time.
Yeah, I think I'm getting sick or something, so I feel not very good right now. But, I'm trying to stay positive here, try to get through this show.
Let's all get out our small violins for Brian and play our tiny little violins.
Hit me with the crickets, please. All right. Well, I guess since everything seems to be stable now, we could probably start the show. I suppose, at least. I suppose.
Yeah. Let's do that. Let's start that show.
All right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's episode of Top Clack, your weekly source for mechanical keyboard mumbo-jumbo and otherwise silly and or fun things. I am your host, Quakeums, as usual, joined by my lovely co-host, Jay, and we have a nice episode in store for you today. The news doc, not terribly long this week, but we do have some good things on there, of course. But, we'll get through this, like always, and we're going to have a good time, and we hope that you will as well. Jay, how are you doing today, sir?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty well, dude. I'm enjoying life. It's a good week, to say the least. It's a good week. Yeah.
Nice. Shout out to Langlandia, who just donated 500 Happy Halloween bits. Thank you so much for that.
Nice. And Japanese Horror Writer as well with his 1,000 spooky bits. Thank you very much, dude. We genuinely appreciate all of the support we get from you guys, so thank you very much for that.
His Rip Cheer bits applies so much more today than it ever has in the past.
It does, yeah. It's like the perfect day for it.
Very timely. Very timely.
On the right day for a change. It's not in the week or anything. It's actually on the day. Although, technically for me, it is now Friday, so it's not really Halloween anymore, but we'll go with it.
You're in the future, Jay. You don't matter. It's fine. Only those of us in the past matter. Or current time,
right,
actually.
Okay.
Alright, guys. So, as is tradition, we'll start with a quick mail call before we move into a couple announcements, and then roll into our news doc as usual. My mail call is easy this week. I have this. Nothing. Absolute zero. Zip. I'm not cool this week. However, Jay is, as usual. So.
Yeah, I got a few cool things. The first thing that I got, which I'm going to show on stream on Sunday in a bit more detail, is, and this is going to show up terrible because we've got the camera filters on, so you'll have to tune in on Sunday to actually see it properly. But I got a full set of half SA, so I now have a whole set of half SA to have a play on. So I'm sure you can see there that it's quite shiny. And
you can turn off the filter just to show that, you know.
No. They can tune in on Sunday to watch. That's the whole point. Drag them in. And,
man, genius. All right, I like it.
Sadly, it won't be on this board because I do have to ship the iron back. I should have shipped it back a few days ago, but I've been really enjoying using it, so it hasn't gone in the mail yet. But I will be talking about HSA on Sunday, so tune in if you want to see a breakdown of one of the prototype sets. The actual only full prototype set is what the MyKeyboard.eu guys lent me at the Leeds Meetup. As well as that, I also got 2 new Kipuras. I haven't opened them yet. I was going to do them on stream, and then we changed the filter, so I don't know which ones I've got, to be honest. But I'll open them now. Okay, so I've got a purple lilac-y one, and then I've got a nice cyan blue one as well. Here we go. Cool.
Nice.
Actually, that looks really spooky. Look at that.
These filters are terrible for showing things on camera.
Yeah, we didn't think this through very well.
This was not well thought out, guys.
So again, I'll show those on Sunday if you want to see. The other thing I did get as well is the guys from ThicThock actually turned up to the UK meetup as well, and they gave me a few things to try out, including 2 sets of ThicThock springs. So these are the guys behind the marshmallow switches. So I got some progressive springs at 68 grams, and I also got some delicious linear springs at 67.5 grams from the ThicThock. So yeah, I'll be trying those out in a future build as well. The other thing that I got this week too was from Keyhive, my Nightmare, which is aptly named for today's stream, which is the TMO inspired 3D printed board that came as well this week. So well, it came today actually. I got that in this morning, so I'll be interested to take a look at that and build that up at some point too.
Nice. Another quick shout out to Japanese Horror Writer, who donated an additional 2,000 bits. Holy crap! Thank you so much, man. Happy Halloween
awesome.
to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just took a look at our viewer count and I was like, why is it so low? That I realized, oh, it's a holiday. People are out going to Halloween parties and costume parties, or taking their kids out trick or treating. Or, all the other stuff that people do on Halloween. Normal people do, not me. Obviously, we're here talking about keyboards, and you're here watching us, so, we are very nice, fully functioning members of society because of that.
Absolutely. And Mountain Blocks with the 222 Happy Halloween bits as well. Thank you very much, Mountain Blocks. We appreciate that. I never reached out to you about that shirt as well. The, what was it? Click the button. Do the thing, click the button, pay the money, right? Yeah.
Send the money, yeah.
Send the money, yeah.
We'll have to watch the VOD, that part of the VOD again, so we can see it and get it right. Because that'll be a fun shirt, honestly.
Yeah, we definitely need to arrange that. And Eskimo just saying that Chat Out, which is one of the guys behind ThicThock, was an excellent shill at the meetup. He was actually selling these springs at the meetup as well, so quite a few people in the UK managed to pick up a few sets too, so it was good to see. And I did say I'd give him a shout out on top pack as well, so there's your shout out, dude. There it is. I'll be talking about these on Sunday as well, so if they're any good, I will tell you. If they're not, I will also tell you.
Yeah.
I'll be completely open and honest about them.
Another shout out for them is I actually just recently reviewed the admittedly 2 marshmallow switches that they sent me, along with both of those springs that Jay was showing off. So if you want my thoughts on it, you can go to topclack.com. It's the newest article on the text Clack section if you want to check out my thoughts on marshmallow switches.
Cool.
fun story. They're pretty good, at least the two that I have, and the springs, honestly, pretty good. Silly naming scheme aside.
Yeah. So I don't mind the naming schemes. I think it's all right.
Magically progressive, Jay. Deliciously linear. I mean, it fits the theme. It fits the theme. I'll give them that, but it's pretty silly. But they do feel good. They do feel like good springs.
Okay, well, I'll try them out. And he did say as well at the meetup as well that in terms of the switches, there will be more samples coming soon, so we might actually get a build done each. So as soon as that happens, we'll let you guys know as well. So yeah, that was everything. I think I've actually missed a load of stuff as well because I got a load of stuff that was packed away for the meetup before last week's show, and I never covered it. But yeah, you'll see it all at some point in a build stream, I'm sure.
Will we? Will we really though?
Probably.
Good.
I don't see why not.
Good.
I mean, the only other option is that I just never do anything with it and leave it in its box. And I did get something, but I can't show it. I got something really cool, but I can't show it. It's a secret, but this is part of it, all wrapped up, and I'm not going to unwrap it. It's a secret, so there is a secret build stream coming soon.
Secret build stream, okay.
Secret build stream, yeah.
All right, interesting. All right, what about as far as announcements are concerned? What do we got today?
Well, I think the first thing that we should do is welcome our new Discord moderator. So we've always had not Geo, and now we've got Geo as well. So we accepted Geo onto the mod team about a week ago, I think, just after the show last week. I noticed you didn't put up an announcement, Brian, so I thought we'd do this on the show, and we'd actually on the show. And
I'm clearly a terrible person, and I didn't think it was announcement worthy enough. But yeah, of course, obviously all of our moderators do a fantastic job, and we greatly appreciate their help. So they should be celebrated. At least sometimes.
Absolutely.
But now we have 2 Geos, so that's a little... I don't know why we did that. It's a little scary now that I think about it.
If you read their names, we've got Geo and not Geo. That's quite clear. One of them's Geo and one of them's not.
Sure. That makes total sense. All right. And then, yeah, there was one more thing we have to announce that we were talking a little bit about today before the show. We are thinking of bringing back a Top Clack Secret Santa. This is something that we have done in the past as far as Top Clack is concerned. About 2 years ago, back when Man of Interest was still with Top Clack, we did one in the Discord. We were obviously quite a bit smaller back then. The Discord was probably about as third as big as it is now, so might be a little bit more difficult now. Might have more people, but I think we can probably still pull off a pretty effective Secret Santa. So yeah,
absolutely,
be pretty cool.
Yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit more about the rules and how we'll manage it, because we're conscious now that Top Clack's audience isn't just in the US. There's quite an EU contingent as well as other people around the world. So we might have almost 2 lists of so people aren't shipping things too far, or they're paying broadly the same in shipping costs and things like that. But yeah, we'll be announcing some more details of that in the next couple of weeks. And the idea will be that you'll have time before Christmas to go and ship them all. And then what we'll probably do is we'll probably have like an opening party where on the show that's around Christmas time, one of those dates where Brian and I'll open up our Secret Santa gifts because we're both going to join in this, and we'll do it live on stream so you guys can see what we've got, and we might get a couple of you in chat to share some pictures of what you've had as well and stuff like that, and we'll just have a really good fun time with it, and try and give something back to each other and enjoy the festivities.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so that should be pretty fun. Look forward to that. If that's something that you're into, we'll definitely be doing that via the Discord. So make sure you join below officially if you want to be a part of that.
Do the thing. Click the button.
Do the thing. Click the button. Join the server, and get and send presents.
Send the money. Yeah, send the money.
Send the presents. Send the presents. Receive the presents. Oh, yeah. Enjoy your holidays. Yes. So yes, more info on that soon. We'll have an official announcement and all the rules up in the very near future. Anyways, absolutely. Let's talk about some keyboards, Jay. Because
Sounds good.
We have quite a few interesting ones going on today.
Yeah, there's not a lot in terms of quantity, but the quality is pretty good.
There's some interesting things on the news doc today to talk about.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
let's start out with this first topic over here, which is courtesy of Blind Assassin 111, and this is an interest check for the SP111 Split Southpaw keyboard. This is a keyboard that he's been teasing for quite a while now. I'll show you a picture right here. It's shown up in renders for a few different sets, including this one right here, which is the Cat white on black, courtesy of one creative mind, if I'm not mistaken. And this is a really interesting keyboard. So I'm going to start out with some specs before we talk about how we feel about it. So this, you're going to get a 7-degree typing angle. The two halves are going to be connected via USB-C, and then it'll also be connected USB-C to your PC or other device. As far as the weight is concerned, it's actually pretty hefty. There is no dedicated weights in either of the sides. However, completely unbuilt, the left side alone weighs 1.5 kilograms, which is over 3 pounds. And the right side at 1.3 kilograms, which is a little bit smaller, but that makes sense because, hey, it's a little bit smaller. But that's still pretty darn respectable. That's roughly a 6-pound keyboard, and that's pretty good as far as no dedicated weights are concerned. It's just, that's completely unbuilt, just the case and the plate together. So that's pretty nice. There are quite a few layout options, which we'll get to in just a moment. There's going to be a few different colors available. You're going to be black, E-white, and blue-gray, and regardless, all of them will most likely feature a sandblasted brass plate. And this is going to run on the Key Company. There could be proxies, though, that are still being decided. So how do you feel about this board, Jay?
Yeah, I think it looks great in terms of the layout and the design. And big shout out to Metallic Charles, because those renders are pretty damn good. I'm pretty impressed with those renders. They look, really good. So I think in terms of the layouts, I think it works really, really well. He's been very brave and gone with the single B key, which I think is the better option for split boards personally. But there's a good amount of compatibility there as well. So you can split the left-hand numpad, and you can do that, where in different ways. You can have the 2 U keys all be 1 U, for example, and stuff like that. There's a couple of options on the bottom row as well. And there's also some supported options on the PCB that aren't included on the plate, but the plate files are going to be open as well, which means you can have ISO and other layouts as well as to your preference. So I think it's pretty interesting, pretty good from that perspective. In terms of the design, I think it looks great. I've always been a fan of split boards. You guys know that I've got the VEA, and it's one of my favourite boards of all time. I think this looks like it's onto a winner. The Type-C connection from both sides as well is really good. Type-C cables all the way around makes perfect sense to me. I don't see why you'd use anything else. Cough, VEA using SATA. Why you'd ever pick something else?
What a joke!
USB-C right now. There's a lot of valid options. TRRS works really well. We've used that for a long time. But why use something obscure? So USB-C is perfect for this, and I think it looks fantastic for a split board. I also like the way he's done the naming convention for this as well. So the SP stands for Split, Southpaw, or Special. 3 different meanings tied into one name, and the numbers at the end 111. That refers to the 3 prototypes that have a layout with exactly 111 switches,
as well as his birthday.
Yeah, I was going to get to that, which is technically for me, it's his birthday right now, because it's the 1st of November where I am. So, Blind Assassin, happy birthday and welcome to the future.
Interesting. I don't know where he's located, but maybe he is in a place where it's also his birthday now too.
I think he's in the US.
I'm going to guess US, but I never actually know. He did post this thread a couple days ago. I think it would have been more hilarious if he actually posted it on his birthday. It would have really driven that theme home. But
then we'd have missed his birthday, and I wouldn't have been able to wish him happy birthday on his birthday, which right now for me, where I am, it is his birthday. So there we go. Yeah.
Shout out to Blind Assassin 111. Happy birthday to you, sir. So awesome,
really good day, man.
Yeah, awesome naming scheme. I love the way the board looks. The layout compatibility actually pretty strong as far as this board is concerned. I really like this, actually, the PCB supported only layout out here. I know it's really tough to find 3U spacebars. Not a whole lot of sets and kits have them, but I do think that looks absolutely stunning, and you can tell that's actually what's being pictured here in this first render, which is a much more beautiful bottom row. It's so symmetrical. It's so superior in looks, in my opinion, than all the other options. But you do have quite a few options there, which is nice. And I am a really big fan of all these kind of left-hand boards coming out. Not because I am left-handed, because, well, I am left-handed, but I do use my mouse with my right hand. And actually having that extra space on the right side, where the number pad normally would be, saves me a lot of pain in terms of gaming, so I don't smack my mouse around the keyboard, which I often do on keyboards that are full size or roughly that large, 1800 or etc. But here, you kind of have that numpad relocated on the left side. I like that quite a bit. So that's pretty nice. Also, one of the reasons he chose to go that route is because for people that do a ton of data entry and things of that nature, you can actually use your numpad on the left now, so you can use your left hand for your numbers, and you can keep your right hand on the mouse, which can be pretty beneficial depending on what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, back in my data entry days, that would have been a lifesaver because I used to use the numpad and then have a layer so that I could hold down another button and then use the num keys as arrow keys. And I used to get a really, really bad pain in my wrist from doing that. So I think for anyone who does that kind of work, you know, it'd be really, really useful to have a Southpaw numpad with arrow keys or with a mouse, depending on how you want to do your workflow. On the other side would be really useful. So yeah, definitely a vast improvement.
Yeah. So definitely looking forward to this one.
I do feel like the original keyboard designers, when they were making boards with numpads, and I don't know who came up with the first, probably IBM, right? Let's just blame IBM. You know, they came up with the first boards. Why did they put the numpad on the right-hand side? Because when numpads came about, GUIs were already available, as far as I'm aware. So the mouse from Xerox as an invention was already starting to make, you know, its way up. So yeah, interesting why they picked to put it on the right hand side. I don't know.
Yeah. Either way, I think this is a pretty nice looking board with a lot of potential, and I'm excited to see how it's going to go. So
yeah,
no hard dates yet on anything. Timeline and pricing still to be decided, but we can assume this is not going to be a particularly cheap board with all the material and tech going into it. So you know, get your wallets ready if you want this one, boys.
Yeah, it does say it's looking to run in late November, and it'll be running through the Keycap company. So there we go.
Yep. Quick shout out to Super User 4, who subs with Twitch Prime for 10 months. Thank you so much. As well as Pilot XJ, who gifts a Tier 1 sub to Kawaii Potatoes. Great username, by the way, which is his 53rd gift sub in this channel. So thank you so much, guys. Appreciate that a lot.
Nice. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Very nice. All right, let's move on to a group buy that isn't open anymore. So unfortunately, you can't get it. But if you were one of the lucky 100 users that did manage to get in on time, then congrats to you. So this is the group buy for the S7 Elephant Round 2. And we're going to touch just briefly on this, but not too much, just because it is already over, like I had mentioned. So you can't get it. But darn it, it's a pretty nice keyboard. There has been pretty much no changes at all from the Round 1 version. However, this version is a little bit more expensive, if I'm not mistaken. I think the Round 1 version was around $300 for the base kit, and this one starts at $350. But
yeah, I think you're right. It's a little bit more expensive, but yeah, the board, as you say, is broadly unchanged. I actually built one of these for Ahab on stream quite a while ago, although I built the solid brass version rather than one of the aluminium versions. I've got to say I was really impressed with the board itself. It's you know, the actual design, the way it fits together is pretty good. And although it was stupidly heavy because it was solid brass, like the aluminium ones, I can see them being still really hefty, but really, really good boards, you know, in the kind of vein as the old vintage boards that are just huge and behemoths and kind of have a real huge presence on your desk and stuff like that. So I'm not surprised these sold out really quickly. Available in E-white, E-black, dark grey, purple and silver. I'm not surprised that those sold out, you know, pretty much instantly. It's a great board.
Yeah, and I want to hear it from someone in chat too, because I'm sure someone knows the exact amount of time this took to sell out. So if you know, let us know in chat. But this was certainly a bezel extravaganza, if I do say so myself. But it does look quite nice. So,
yeah, I really like these.
Yeah, I was not under the impression that this was that popular of a keyboard. And to see 100 units sell out that quick, I feel like is pretty darn successful. So there you go.
Yeah, I'm not sure if those were just for the Western community, those 100. I know it was for sale in the Asian community at the same time. I did see some comments around that. I know that just a few hours after it opened, it was close to hitting the 100 units. It wasn't open for long before it started to hit it. So yeah, I think it was open for maybe 3 hours, and then it started to get close to the numbers, something like that. So yeah.
Yeah, and for the people that are asking how fast it sold out, I don't actually know, but I usually just defer to chat, because there's always one guy in the Twitch chat that's like, gosh, don't you know it sold out in 48 minutes and 12 seconds? Like, sorry, no, I did not know that. So that's why we have you, so please, if you're in chat.
I think it was about 3 hours, because I remember reading the thread at the time, and Jackie did post somewhere in the thread saying we're really close to 100 units, and then literally pretty much like a minute after that the forum closed. So I think it was about 3 hours, but I don't know an exact number of minutes or hours particularly. I think it's just close to that.
Yeah, sounds about right. Hui, I think is how you pronounce that, just subbed at tier 1 for 3 months. Thank you so much. Says hi. Hi to you as well. All right, let's move on to a group buy that is still open.
Ooh,
this one hasn't closed yet, Jay, I promise. Actually,
Nice.
I don't promise, because anything could have happened in the last, like, 2 hours since I've added this to the news doc. That's always the worst, when, like, I add something to the news doc, and then right before the show they change something, but I still have the outdated page to show on stream. Oh,
yeah, I've done
terrible.
it a couple of times. Yeah,
Absolutely terrible. Anyways, this is the KN 2.10 squared. This is designed by Thesis Camper, and this is not the first time this keyboard has been ran, but I think it might be the first time it's run in such a large quantity at the very least.
The first public group buy, because so again, when we had the meetup in the UK, the yellow board that's actually real pictures of later on in the thread, that board was actually at the UK meetup, and I got to try it out. King Nesty brought it along, and I think it was just a private run from previously, just to do prototyping and all that kind of stuff. We see that quite often in the community, and now it's ready for group buy, which is why they've opened up. I think it was just quite a long drawn out process to get there. So yeah, so I actually did get to play around with the set. So play around with the board. It's an interesting board. I think personally, it's not for me from a stylistic perspective, but the board itself is really nice. And if you like quite a firm typing feel, then this might be up your street.
Yep, so I've actually built one of these, I don't know if I streamed it actually, but roughly a year ago or so, I did build one of these for a customer, and I thought it was an okay board. It didn't impress me too much, but it seemed like pretty decent value as far as custom keyboards are concerned. So let's take a look at a couple of the specs here. So pretty standard 5-degree typing angle here. You're going to get a 4mm plate, which is a little bit different from the previous ones. The one I built, at the very least, had a 1.5mm plate. However, it was kind of angled differently along the edges, and it was propped up in the middle. So as you can see in this picture here, this is actually the plate, in theory. This little line that goes around the mid-seam here. So it's kind of, in the past at least, it was adjusted up, so the plate actually sat higher than this seam, which was kind of interesting. But here it looks like they're going for a 4mm version, which is kind of interesting. There is going to be a fixed layout PCB with USB-C and QMK support. There's going to be 3 top options: standard 60%, HHKB, and win keyless. Love seeing all 3 of those. And the base kit is going to start at about 425 Singapore dollars, which is about 312 United States dollars. And the group buy is going to be open for a very short window. It opened October 28th, so just a few days ago, and it closes in 2 days on November 2nd. So only about a 5-day group buy window. That is incredibly short. They must be very confident they're going to sell a lot of these in that time frame.
Yeah, I think this was also hyped quite highly in the Asian communities as well. I just want to call out something that you said there as well. There's actually 2 plate options for this. There's a 4mm plate options, which is just ANSI only, and the only choices you've got on that is either to split backspace or to have a stepped or full caps lock. But there is also a 1.5mm plate as well. So what Brian was saying is actually some really good images later on in the thread. If you take a look at the red plate, which Brian's got up now, you can see that the plate's kind of got a lip, so it kind of goes across and then raises up and then goes into the key switches. That's the 4mm thick plate, and that raised part from the main plate to the bit that goes up, that's the whole thickness. That's all there solid, and that's 4mm across the case, and it's all CNC'd out. Brian, if you just want to move down to the second teal pick, what you can see here on the second teal pick is the actual universal plates. This is the ISO and ANSI one. So the first one again shows that step up, but then the second teal pick actually shows you that flip from the other side, and you can see that the 4mm has actually been embedded inwards. So you can see that it does still stand upwards into the case, as you mentioned before, Brian. So the seam that you can see around the edge of the board is kind of like that thick, that flange that runs all the way around the edge, but then the actual switch layer is actually raised above that by a couple of millimeters. But that's where you can see that the actual universal plates are milled inwards as well, so they are just 1.5 millimeters thick.
Yeah, so pretty interesting design, in my opinion, and at least when I built one, I thought it felt pretty good. It felt like a very solid custom keyboard. So yeah, this is a pretty interesting little base kit for only about 312 USD, which is, you know, pretty reasonable as far as custom keyboards are concerned these days.
Yeah, for the price, I think it's great. As I say, I tried the one that King Nesty brought up for maybe a good 3 or 4 minutes. It's a very solid typing feel. So if you like a more flexible feel, it might not be for you. But I did only try the full 4mm thick plate. I didn't try the 1.5mm half plate. So that may change the typing feel. So I haven't tried that. But yeah, it's a really interesting board. Stylistically, it's not something I like, although I do like the side grooves where you can pick it up. I'm just not quite a fan of the shape of the top of the board, but that's just a personal thing from me.
Definitely.
But the yellow, I've got to say that yellow in person, I never ever liked a yellow keyboard before. I know Norbauer's done the powder coated yellow ones, and there's been yellow canoes and things like that to match Serica, but the actual yellow on this one, if the boot by boards run, it's the only yellow I've ever liked on a keyboard. So yeah, really nice.
Yeah, this one's kind of an interesting system too, because you can't necessarily pick and choose the colors of all of your parts. There are a few different fixed combinations that you're practically forced into if you want this board. However, I do think they look pretty darn good. And yeah, I really do think the E yellow here with the black plate and the E white bottom really stands out. It looks absolutely spectacular in my opinion, as far as the colors go. But there's some good ones in here. The dark gray and cyan, also very nice. Silver, dark red, silver, also very nice. And the black, red, black, also really awesome. So I think they did a pretty good job of putting together the kits here, and it makes it a little bit easier on them because, you know, fewer SKUs.
Yeah, I have to be honest as well, the fact that there's the 3 different tops where you can have the 60, the wing keyless, or the HHKB is nice as well. I know we see that in most group buys now, but I have to say normally I'd prefer the wing keyless version, but in this one I think the HHKB one just looks a little bit nicer in my view. But yeah.
Yep, very interesting. So estimated shipping is only 60 days on this. 2-month lead time. That is immensely fast for group buys. Immensely fast for a keyboard group buy. So that's pretty impressive. Hopefully they can actually hit that deadline. But regardless, the group buy closes in 2 days, guys. So if you want one of these, you're going to have to hop on it soon. Make sure when you actually go to buy on the site, you remember to convert the dollary dues, because what it's listed on there is Singapore dollars, not USD. So do keep that in mind when you're ordering. Yeah,
absolutely.
Cool. All right, now let's take a look at an interest check. And I found this one to be pretty darn interesting. So this is an interest check for the L7, a 65% custom keyboard by our boy Luigi here, which is apparently an Italian gentleman, I presume. And he has a pretty interesting board design going on here. I'm going to open up the album for you guys so you can see it. This is a gasket mount board of sorts, and I'm just going to start with the exploded view while I run off a couple specs here. So it's going to be using a 6-degree typing angle, a standard 1.5mm thickness plate. It's going to have a hot swap QMK compatible PCB with a USB-C daughter board. That's also going to have SMD LEDs. I'm not sure if those are going to be RGBs or not. That has not been listed yet. It's also going to be ONSI only, unfortunately, and it's going to be manufactured by Salvin, which is really interesting because he's been doing a lot of cool work, particularly with keycaps in the last few months. So nice to see some boards coming from his manufacturing place as well.
So just on Salvin as well. So Salvin's actually, he watches sometimes, so he might be watching, but he's actually, if any of you follow his Instagram, he's actually just taken ownership of a new CNC machine. And his old CNC machine, over a year of setting it up and things like that, got him some really good results. And his new machine on the basic settings was like still even better than the machine he's been tinkering with. He's been getting some really, really good results from his new setup. And also to say as well that Salvin's done a few boards now. He did the Borsdorf board that I built a couple of weeks ago, and he also did the board that actually won the Keyboard of the Best in Show award at the Leeds meetup as well, which was a UK 78 milled from completely from copper. So Salvan's machining is on point as well.
Yeah, he's been doing a pretty good job, and he's a darn nice guy as well. This particular design, I don't know if it's for me, but I appreciate the creativity here. So I feel like this is kind of in the same class of boards as the maybe something similar to the Space 65. What was the one by Percent that was on drop not too long ago? That was a little more wacky.
The Maze.
Yeah, it kind of has a similar vibe here as far as the creativity is concerned. But it's neat. It's not necessarily for me, but this is the kind of stuff I like seeing because it's not like everything else.
Yeah, it does look reminiscent of the Space 65 with the shapes, the rounded corners, I'll be honest. In terms of the design, I'm actually really interested in the design itself, so in the way it all fits together, the gasket mounted solution, it's something that's quite dear to my heart. I've played with it quite a lot in different prototypes and one thing and another. And this seems like it's almost following a very similar kind of stylistic approach to the Mechaniste board that we looked at a couple of weeks ago, where it's got the carbon fiber ring around the edge of the plate. This has got this has actually got a brass ring that sits around the edge of the plate that becomes the accent piece that makes it look like a sandwich mount board. So like on the last board that we looked at, the KN, you can see the colour around the centre here. You can see that, but it's not actually attached to the plate in this one. The plate actually sits almost above that, and the gaskets sit around it as well. So interesting design choice. I'll be interested to see how this works in practice. I'm not sure I'm a fan of the badge on the top, the little lightning bolt. I'm not sure I like that particularly. But in terms of the actual mounting design, I'm very interested in seeing how that feels and looks.
Yeah, it looks very solid. Like you were mentioning, it does have this kind of brass accent piece, which sits... I'm trying to show it off of the mouse, little guys, bear with me here. Which sits on top of this bottom piece here. Then obviously the bottom gasket goes in this little groove you can see on the inside. And then the PCB will just rest on top of that, and then obviously the plate goes over that, and then this piece is the other gasket. So gasket on both sides, and then on surrounding the plate, you're going to have this brass piece here. So kind of an interesting design, and there's a decent amount of thought that went into this. But I agree with you on the logo. I think it makes it look a little silly. It's a little cartoony. It's a little maybe too stylized for me.
Yeah, like the LED lights on top are fine. We've seen those similar on the CA66 where it's used to good effect. I think that's fine. The only other thing I don't like is on the split view. This really highlights it as well. Is that the gap between that vertical piece that comes down where the badge and the LEDs are, and the right hand blocker. There's a gap. There's a physical gap milled between the two. So right in the very corner. That just feels a little bit inconsistent to me, and I'd almost rather not have that right-hand block and put under the switch there and have the full right-hand column all the way down to the bottom, or I would join those two bits up or something slightly different, because I'm not quite sure that works for me how it's there currently. I suspect the gap might be more noticeable on that diagonal between the two keycaps than it looks from the top-down views in the renders.
Yeah, it's hard to say because we only have renders. In this first exploded view, like you mentioned, the gap between the two pieces looks immense. That looks absolutely huge. Those should be connecting aesthetically, I think would look a little bit better. But in the renders that actually have keycaps, it looks maybe a little bit closer. But, it could just be a placebo effect from the keycaps actually being on the board.
Yeah, I think for next steps, I think that what Luigi needs to do before running a group buy on this one is definitely get some prototypes made, get Salvan working away in his machine shop, get some prototypes of the gaskets and all of that kind of stuff, and give it a try out. So hopefully, Luigi, if you watch this, I'm really interested to see what comes of it.
Yep, absolutely, because it looks pretty interesting. I think it just needs maybe a few tweaks, and it could be something pretty high potential. All right. Speaking of high potential, Rama. We all know Rama. Lots of us love Rama. And his new product is finally out. So this is the RamaWorks M65B, which is obviously the successor to the M65A, which launched in, early 2017, I think, late 2016 maybe.
2016,
which was a rather popular board at the time, and still to some degree is. A lot of that surrounding how affordable it was, because originally the M65A project was to have this idea of having an incredibly budget-friendly keyboard that was still a really nice custom, and because of that, it launched at a pretty low price. And if I'm not mistaken, both Rama and Clack, who is actually the vendor, the distributor of the M65A, weren't really making any profit margins on this. So that was kind of interesting as well. I think the original M65A launched at a base price of about $250 US, which was very low compared to other customs at the time, and still is for what it actually featured. But here, the successor has a bit of an upgrade. There's a lot more going on here than there used to be in the past, and yeah, I am looking forward to it. So let's talk about some specs real quick. It's going to have an 8-degree angle here. You're going to have SMD RGB LEDs on the PCB. It's going to also feature VIA and QMK support with USB-C. This is a Wilbur designed PCB. We can't really expect anything else. He does very nice work, and he puts out some of the best in the community. There's going to be a hot swap option and a solderable option. Both, I believe, are the same price, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, so, regardless of whether you're brand new to the hobby and you don't want to solder, or you don't have equipment, or maybe you're a little bit more enthusiastic about it and you do want to solder, you're going to have both those options covered for you. Something I'm a little bummed to see, but I totally understand, is the plate option. It's only going to come in brass. You're not going to have any other materials. Brass is a little played out in the community as far as I'm concerned, but a lot of people definitely still like it. So PVD-coated brass plate is going to be your only option here. It's also going to be a pretty hefty keyboard. Unbuilt without a weight is going to be 1.7 kilograms, and with the add-on weight, which is the same weight that you can get in your M60A or Koyu, for example, which is an add-on separately that you can still buy on the same site, is going to be up to 2.5 kilograms, which is pretty high. There's also going to be an all-brass tank version, which has been pretty normal as far as Rama Works is concerned. And that's going to be even heavier, as you can imagine, at 4.4 kilograms without the internal weight, 5.2 kilograms with it, which is astonishing and almost overly heavy if I would have to put a term on it. But hey, a lot of people like those super duper hefty boards. Just like in true RamaWorks fashion, it's also going to come with all of the mounting hardware and tools you need to build it, with an option for adding on keycaps, switches, and stabilizers. So how do you feel about this one?
Well, first thing I'm going to do is just correct you a little bit on a couple of points that you made there. There is going to be other plate options as well, so you can get polycarbonate and alu plates as well. Those are options. There's certainly renders of those on the other page, so those are available too. Yeah, you can get other plate options. But in terms of the board itself, I think, as you said, we saw the M65A a couple of years ago. It was a really high-profile board. This seems to be like a much more refined version of that. In terms of the actual board itself, I think stylistically it looks quite nice. I do like the fact that you can use all of Rama's multi-interchangeable stuff, like the internal extra weight, or you can have the sound dampening material as well that he's got his dampener that he's done. So all of those are interchangeable for the internal parts of the board. In terms of the back plate as well, I don't know if you guys remember, but on the original M65A, the back plate that ran across the rear face of the board was smooth and had I think it had a couple of logos on there going from memory. This one now has a whole ridged affair as well, so you can see in some of the pictures there that it's got a nice accented ridge across that. That may lead to more quality control issues, because if those are damaged, it'll become a lot more apparent, a lot more faster. But knowing Rama and his production quality and his QC process, it will be exceptional either way. And if it's not, I'm sure he'll fix it immediately for you as well. So sometimes that might be something to be worried about. In this case, it's very much not. I genuinely think this will do really well.
Yeah.
I think it's a great board. It looks great. 65%, everybody loves it. It is fixed in terms of its layout, but a lot of people tend to prefer that these days. Shame for me that there's no ISO, but I can only worry about that so much. I can't complain about everything.
You can worry your more, Jay, I promise.
Yeah. But what I'm really interested to see is the fact that there's now a polycarbonate version as well. So
yes,
you can get that polycarbonate top shell. That wasn't something that was available previously. So it is really, really interesting. The other thing that I do want to say that's really good about the board as well, that I'm glad he's kept, is that kind of industrial look on the sides where it's still got to the 2 bolts that go horizontally in to hold everything together. I'm really glad that that look was retained for this particular version of the board. He didn't remove those and have flush sides. I kind of like those as an accent piece personally, so I'm glad to see that they're on there as well.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, that's a fantastic design feature, and I did like that a lot on the original one as well. So. Yeah. A pretty decent array of color options for this one too. You have Kuro, which is the black version. You have Moon, which is kind of like a light gray, sort of. You have the Iced, which is polycarbonate, and Milk, which is electrophoresis white, and then Yolk, which is kind of this deep, rich yellow, as you would expect from an egg yolk. And of course, like I was talking about earlier, there is the Rose Tank version, which is hoo-wee. That price tag, $1,100, but hey, it's all brass. If you like to flex, that could be an option for you. So, looking pretty darn good, as is typical of RomoWorks products.
The other thing I wanted to say as well is you can actually buy the mute mid layer for this as well, which is going to be quite interesting.
I believe the mute actually comes with it as part of the base kit. Yeah. So if you guys remember the U80, which was the I think the most recent previous group buy that RomoWorks ran, his TKL, that also used the mute mount system is what they're calling it, and it's kind of a very interesting pressure mounted system where you have this this mute silicone layer that kind of just clamps in between the PCB and the plate, if I'm not mistaken, and then it's held in place with pressure from the case. So pretty interesting design choice there. I like that a lot, though. I think it's pretty interesting. I still haven't tried it on either the U80 or this, obviously, because I don't even think the U80 is shipped yet. But I am very interested in trying out that particular style.
Yeah, I do want to try it, and I'm not sure if it's for me. I kind of like my buds to have a sound, and trying to quiet them too much isn't for me, which is why I tend not to use silent switches and things like that. But for those people that do want a silent build, I'm sure it'll be really good. I've also just dropped the link into chat for the other plates as well, if you guys are interested in checking out either the aluminium or the polycarbonate plates as well. So there's they've got the Kuro for aluminium and Iced for the polycarbonate. There's also additional brass plates that you can get on there in Kuro, Moon, Mist, and Rose colours. So you can get extras in all of those bits and pieces if you need them as well.
Yep, fantastic. Shout out to a missed sub that we forgot a while back from our Mechs on Deck homie Osiris. So tier 1 for 7 months. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate that.
Nice. And Talisman Solution with his traditional 1,111 bits as well. Yeah.
Yep. Awesome. He also gifted a tier 1 sub to Clavier earlier, which was his 201st gift sub. That is outrageous. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate that.
Awesome. Awesome. That's huge. 201. Wow.
That's so many gifted subs, man. That's
crazy.
That's
ridiculous.
Crazy. Yeah.
Wow.
That is absolutely ridiculous, yeah. So this is open now. The group buy is going to be open until December 5th, so you still have quite a while, over a month, to decide on this. So lots of options to choose from. I think it's pretty nice. I like how the Iced, the polycarbonate version, is actually $10 cheaper than any of the other configurations.
Yeah. I think it's just because the material's cheaper, but the mill time's the same.
Yeah.
I think it's just literally going to be down to something like that.
So yeah, starting at 380 USD, not too bad. All right, let's move on to some Keycap news today. We only have not that many GMK interest checks, Jay. Can you believe that? In fact,
wow.
There's only we only put one GMK interest check in the doc this week.
Wow.
It's almost scary.
I've just had 2 PMs almost at the same time as well in Discord saying you didn't cover this board and this board and this board. Yeah, they're all mentioned the same one, which was the polycarbonate canoe that went up for sale earlier on this week. Yeah, it went up for sale and it sold out pretty much straight away. But yeah, we've seen the canoe before, so we didn't think it was worthwhile.
Yeah, the canoe's only been run about 900 times now. It's not a bad board, don't get me wrong, but it's nothing new.
Yeah, and I bought one anyway, so I'll have it on stream in a couple of months' time when it turns up. So yeah, there you go.
Yep.
Okay, so if we're not talking about GMK, what are we talking about then, Brian? What's first on the dock?
today we're going to start with JTK, which is kind of interesting. So JTK seems to be a little bit more enthusiastic lately about putting out keycap sets, and they've been even putting out a lot of their own interest checks, which is kind of interesting. So this one, designed by, I don't know how to pronounce this username. Is it Booger or something like that? Booger. Okay. So this is a set designed by Booger. We don't really have a whole lot of information or renders, unfortunately. We only have this one picture, so I'm not even sure why I added this to the news doc, but hey, it's too late to regret that now. So this is the JTK Classic FC. FC, if you're not aware, stands for Family Computer, or Famicom for short, which is the Nintendo Family Computer right here, which you can see pictured. And boy, is that ancient by today's standards.
Yeah. So interestingly as well, I just want to say that this is, whilst this is an interest check for the triple shot keycaps, JTK does actually say that this is their render for the first version of an actual JTK keyboard as well. So there's going to be a plastic injection keyboard available with customized colors of JTK keycaps coming soon as well. That's an interesting little tidbit that this IC is not really there to promote, but it's just to let people know what's coming as well. So interestingly, lots more to come from JTK. And it really seems like they're starting to build up their presence in the community and start to offer a lot more as well. So excited to see what happens there and see how that progresses. In terms of the colorway and the design, I think this is fine. I think the colors work really well together. The creams and the reds and the blacks work really well. We've seen a lot of triple shots already out on the market now. I've got a set somewhere lying around. They're pretty good for the quality of them. I think the first round had a couple of inconsistencies in places that the JTK are going to fix going forwards. But it's nice to see that they're open to running more and more colorways, and now the fact that they're branching out into ortho users with different size space bars, and they're starting to bring ISO support on as well. It's time to see a lot more mass market adoption, I think, of JTK keycaps and clearly other products as well. So interested to see how this goes. In terms of colorways, I really like this. I think it works really well. I like that whole retro nostalgic feel. I'd be interested to see what this looks like on other boards. The render's not particularly great. It looks more like DSA than JTK's profile, which is the same as Cherry. So yeah, I'd like to see renders of this on other boards and see how that looks like. But other than that, I think it's got potential.
Yeah, and one cool thing about JTK is, although they do tend to have some issues and some delays here and there, obviously, they don't have the greatest track record of all time, they tend to make up for it in terms of value. So usually, these aren't really a competitor for GMK because they often cost so much less than JTK or than GMK per key, which is always kind of fun in itself. So looking forward to this. I think the color is pretty good. Triple shot, cool. I'm on board with that. Hiragana Sub-Legends, also cool. I've always been a fan of Nintendo. I think the Famicom maybe just a little before my time, but I think
it's Brian, really.
What?
When
did the Famicom? Hold on, I'm gonna look up when the Famicom came out.
Late 80s, because we didn't call it the Famicom in the UK.
I was born in 1989. The Famicom launched in 1986, so about 3 years before I was born. So, Jay, I'm sorry. It was a little before my time.
When did the Famicom successor come out? What was that, 92, 93? It was still around when you were young. It was still around.
I mean, sure. I grew up in... I did have a Nintendo Entertainment System, but I grew up mainly with the Super Nintendo because, obviously, when that launched, I was, 3. So, I did wind up getting other consoles moving forward, but... It was very much before my time. It launched 3 years before I was born, Jay. So you can't tell me no.
See, in the UK we called it the NES. It wasn't called the Famicom.
We too.
It didn't look like that.
It did not look like that. It did not look like that.
I'm going to paste the image into chat. This was the machine that I grew up with, which. If you let me paste the link, so that picture there, the grey with the little slot at the front, yes. That was the one that we all had. But effectively, it is the same board. There was the same internals. There were just two different variants of the same thing, from what I understand. Reading back on it a long time ago, so going a lot from memory. But yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't called the Famicom in the US, if I'm not mistaken. I think this was I think this might have been the Japanese release. Don't quote me on that. I'm not an expert. I don't actually know.
Right. But, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, because the Super Famicom in Japan was the Super Nintendo in the US, for example.
Same here, yeah, same here. Although I do know that the Sega consoles you guys did call differently, because you had the Sega Genesis, right?
We had the Genesis and then the Saturn, yes. But we also had the Sega CD. Or that might have been what the Saturn was called in other countries. I'm not really sure.
No. So we didn't have the Genesis. We had the Mega Drive, but it was one and the same. But it was called the Mega Drive in the EU. Bizarrely, don't know why. But it was called the Mega Drive here. But then when they had what was called the Mega CD, which was Sega CD, and it went underneath the Mega Drive. And then we had the Sega Saturn, which was the PlayStation generation equivalent of the Sega console as well. So I think at the Saturn, that's when it kind of went worldwide and the whole name. But yeah, interestingly, bizarrely, in the 80s and early 90s, computer game manufacturers and console manufacturers named them differently across the world. Really weird, but
yeah.
Oh well.
But full circle.
Digressed.
Yeah, let's talk about some keyboards and key sets instead of talking about gaming consoles. As much as I do love gaming consoles, don't get me wrong. But yeah, you can expect this set to be coming soon, I presume. So hopefully we'll get a little bit more information on this, because as far as interest checks go, this is super duper weak. Anyways.
Yeah, awesome.
Moving on to our only GMK interest check this week that we have on the news doc. This is the interest check for GMK Masterpiece, which is by a user that I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce the name because I know I'm going to butcher it.
Energy Schluder.
Very nice. Thank you. I knew I could count on you, Jay, to back me up there. There's a reason you're like the greatest co-host of all time.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
Yeah. See, I compliment you sometimes. I got to beat you down for a while, and then I just give you one.
You're going to get more of those PMs saying, why are you so mean to Jay?
That only happened like once or twice. Oh, man. It's all in good fun.
Still telling.
It's all in good fun. Anyways, this is a pretty interesting looking GMK base set, which is based around the kind of craftsmanship of the Japanese handmade products, and it has a whole little kind of spiel on it here, which is pretty good read. But let's talk about the set itself. So, if I'm not mistaken, he does actually say this in the post, but it's the first GMK set with katakana only mono legends and mods. So these are completely new molds, all of them. It is going to be using a custom RAL blue as well, which is a very nice kind of rich blue. I like it a lot. It's very tranquil.
Just to be clear on that, so the alphas have been done before, I believe, as Solar Legends. It's the fact that they're now going to be on the modifiers, which hasn't been done. I think that's the clarification there. As far as I know, they were done on the white on black set for the alphas.
He claims that this will be the very first GMK set with katakana only alphas and mods. It's his first line in the design portion of his thread here.
Yeah, so I think the katakana only alphas have been done before, but it's never been done with the mods, and I think the mods are all new mods. I think that's what he's trying to say, because we've definitely seen katakana only.
What GMK set had katakana mono legends? We've seen hiragana mono legends several times, but I don't know if we've seen katakana sub legend.
I'm sure we have.
Someone in chat will correct us.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Someone in chat will correct us. That's always how it works, anyways. So. One of us will look dumb, chat will look smart. That's how live Top Clack goes anyways.
It's fine. There's too many GMK sets to remember everything anyway, so that's why we need you guys.
Regardless, how do you feel about the set itself?
So can I do a hot take?
You can do you can always do hot takes.
And this is going to be really, really controversial. This is what GMK Striker should have been.
Alright, I'm glad you said it so I didn't have to. I don't know if I would necessarily say what it should have been. I think they can still be completely different. They're obviously different themes. They can be different sets, but I do think this is a superior set to GMK Striker for me. So I like how it feels like they really went the extra mile here. The katakana legends I think just look better than hiragana personally. I think this blue is just a lot more intriguing to me. It's a little bit more mild, and this tradition kit really kind of gets me going here. So this is the katakana modifiers here, and the traditional kit, which is which for sure there's no way we've seen this in GMK before. This has to be new.
That's what I was saying. That's definitely on you. And like I'm not one for that. And I'm going to put a badge on this, and I really shouldn't. I'm not one for the weeb sets as it is. You know, we've talked about this often before. I've never been one for liking that kind of stuff. But I like the fact that this all fits. The whole theme fits, from the alphas to the modifiers to the fact that it's got a full compatibility base kit. You know, it's got much more compatibility than Striker did have. I think the blue is nicer. I think the accents are nicer. I think the overall aesthetic of the kits are nicer than what Striker did, and I really do think that this is the potential of where Striker could have got to if they'd have applied more details.
Yeah,
I am going to ask one question. It's probably going to make me sound a little bit off, but I don't mean it to come across that way. But with all of the Katakana legends across the modifiers and the alphas and things like that, why are we still using the Arabic numbers? The Latin numbers. Is there not Japanese or equivalent or katakana equivalents for the numbers in the numpad?
I'm certainly not an expert on the Japanese language, so I'm not entirely sure. But I totally agree with you. That'd be kind of cool. Even go as far as the F keys, man. Maybe can we get something neat there too? Maybe something totally different. I do like the theme a lot here, and I think this is a really well thought out interest check and well thought out set. But maybe there could be a few extra steps to take here that could still be considered. But again, it's an interest check, so we don't know. They're always looking for feedback. But
yeah, and I don't know if I'm barking up the wrong tree with asking for why we're using the westernized numbers. It might be that that's just how it is. I really don't know. But it'd be really cool to see that theme carried across the numpad as well, if that's something that's an option. And as you say, the F keys as well. If there's a character for F and then there's characters for the numbers, why not put them on the number as well? I would absolutely pay extra to see that in this set.
Yeah.
I really do like it. And the other thing I want to shout out as well is that this has got true Japanese ISO layout, which is really, really good to see as well. So, which means that the R4 key for ISO has the square with the curved bottom on it as well. So this is actually true Japanese ISO in effect, which is great, fantastic to see proper ISO support. Even though it's not UK ISO, which I use, that fits the theme much better. It's really great to see that in this one.
Yeah, so we have proper Japanese ISO in the base kit as well as the numpad, and pretty decent compatibility otherwise. Of course, as you can see, it does come with all icon mods, which I particularly like a lot. I don't usually prefer text mods over them. However, the secondary kit, the Tradition kit, is pretty darn tasty because it's using those brand new molds. Look at that ISO enter. That ISO enter is beautiful.
Amazing, right? I almost feel like the Tradition kit should be the base kit modifier option.
I do too.
Give people a choice of the icon mods if they wanted that later on.
Also, shout out to the guy that named this Value for the base kit, because Value is my favorite thing in this entire community and probably my favorite thing in the entire world. So I love seeing the base kit called Value. Moving along to the rest of the kits, he has the Preserving kit, which is the spacebar kit. Very nice there. That's pretty much anything you might need. And that's it. Only 3 kits, so keeping it very simple here, which I do appreciate,
perfect.
Which is very, very true to Japanese craftsmanship. Japanese, you can see it in their cuisine and a lot of the work they do. They keep things very simple, very clean, they strive for perfection, right? It's kind of just a Japanese mindset. So it's kind of nice to see a lot of those kind of taking roots in this interest check and key set as well. So for me, this is a winner. I definitely want to get this one. What about you, Jay?
I'm all over this. Yeah, irrespective of how this ends up looking, just for this, I'm all over it. I was on the fence about Striker when that came out, and then the lack of ISO support killed it in the end for me anyway. But I much prefer the blue shades in this. I like the white accents in this. I like the theme behind it. I like the stylistic choices. And as I said before, I'm not usually one for Japanese sub-legends or anything like that, or even Japanese main characters and things. That's not usually my street at all, but this just looks great. End to end, I really like this, and I'm really excited to see this come forward. Great theme as well, great interest check. It's well written. even down to the fact that he's put the titles in the same color blue as the rest of it. So for like his design and kits and inspiration bits, he's even put the blue in the same thing. So really, really, really happy with this. 10 Strong saying, but does it have UK ISO? It doesn't need it. Why would I put UK ISO or ask for UK ISO in a set like this where it covers my layout anyway and it fits the theme far better using the Japanese one? Like Yugo, right? Yugo covers ISO as standard as the base key. You have to buy the ANSI keys afterwards. But it fits the Yugoslav language better. Exactly the same thing.
Yeah,
I think
yeah. Every set doesn't need to be designed around the Latin language or the US. And that's what I like a lot, that we're seeing a little bit more here with sets like this, with sets like Yugo, etc. So, loving this. This render on the M60 is just so beautiful. Even with the accents, I think it's great. Look at that numro. That is so nice. Freaking love this. So, very, very nice. Group buy, hopefully coming not too far, but I know a lot of vendors are really pushed back on GMK queues right now. But
yeah. So that's interesting, actually. What I was just saying before about the numpad. So clearly the I didn't even think to look at the numro, but clearly the numro's got these mono legends on. Okay, so and this is another thing that I want to talk about as well. This before we move on. I know I'm digressing, but clearly there is the numbers there because they're there. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way up to the backspace. So I'm just wondering why we wouldn't use those legends on the numpad as well. For me, it'd make more sense. The second thing as well is when GMK Minimal was coming out, I was actually working on another set with some other people called Minimalist, which was basically black on white, very, very, very similar. But what I wanted to do with that set was have it as just single legends. So all of the keys, like 2 and 3, like your numbers, where we tend to have 2 different legends on GMK. I was just going to have it as minimal, like just have the 2 on their mono legends effectively as well. And of course, and then Minimal came out and died. But it's really nice to see that that's here on this set. There isn't anything with a secondary legend, so like the numro where you would normally see the accent as well as the number, the second modifier that you can get off there, this has just got all of the original ones on there, the same as the punctuation keys. So I was going to do just the standard, whatever you get when you tap the button in the standard layout, that was what it would show. The key wouldn't show all of the secondary functions of the key, the shift functions, and you've got that here as well on what would be the punctuation keys. You've just got single characters, and I think that there is more space for mono legend GMK sets in the market right now, and I'd like to see one crop up soon as well. So I know it's an aside and it's not really related to the set, but a fully mono legend GMK set would be great.
Yeah, would be very interesting to see, but pretty happy with this one anyways. So they already have a couple of the vendors lined up, so it's going to be mykeyboard.eu for Europe, Ilum KB for Asia, and switchkeys.com.au for Australia. There is no US proxy yet, so still in talks to work that out, but hopefully we can see more of this set soon. I'd love to see how much this base kit is actually going to cost, because one thing that Striker obviously did right was it was a $100 base kit. They cut down a lot, but it was still a $100 base kit. So this one obviously a lot more full, but I think if we can get this for around 120 or maybe even 130, it could be pretty good value.
To be honest, even with the custom molds and the fact that it's all going to be custom, even if this was $180, I'd still buy it because I think it looks great. Just a shout out to Eskimojo as well on the minimal tease the mono kit. Yeah, so when that came out, I reached out to Ryan and Janglad and showed them what I'd been working on and stuff, and said that mono kit looked quite good. I think Janglad mocked up a render to see what it looked like as well at the time, and I thought it looked great. And I do really still want to see a mono GMK set. I have some ideas and things which I've shown with a few people, but I've never got around to doing any more interest checks. I've just got too many projects on. But I would love someone else to do a mono kit GMK set.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So looking forward to this one with bated breath. Now let's check out our final topic for key sets, at least. This is not a GMK interest check, like I mentioned before, which is cool. This is an interest check for a cat set. So this is cat Lich, I think is probably how you're supposed to pronounce that. I don't actually remember. I've seen it pronounced a couple different ways, but this is a set by Eskimojo. So
it is.
Yeah, so this is pretty cool. Love seeing Cat. This is, first and foremost, a set designed around the character Wiz from Konosuba, which is a fairly popular anime that I do enjoy myself. And she is basically an undead shopkeeper, and who is she's very well-meaning, very positive, and it's a pretty cool character. So this set is themed around that. but there is going to be 4 custom Pantone colors for this. But he does have RAL colors as backup if those are required, which is kind of interesting. So
yeah, so what I would say on this as well is that we've seen from Cat Oasis samples that have come in now that Pantone's coming back much easier in dice sublimation than they can be in GMK plastic mixing, and now that we've seen that reverse dice sub is an option for Cat sets as well, I think that this has got a lot more potential. So now we've had proof of that. I'm a lot more comfortable with seeing sets like this as well running, where there's going to have to be some reverse dice subbing to achieve the look and feel that the set's going for.
yeah, so pretty cool. I like the way this one looks, but something that really surprised me is actually the kit breakdown here. So let's take a look at that real quick. Normally we have our we have the Alphas kit, pretty normal stuff there. The mods kit, cool, very rich, a lot of keys in that one, including even a couple ISO enters there, which is pretty cool. There is going to be a pretty rich 40s and Ortho kit, very nice. Ergo kit for all those Ergodox users out there, very nice. Numpad, all good stuff. Novelties looking pretty good. Actually, as far as novelties go, I think these are pretty good. A couple text-based novelties in there too, which always warms my heart. Spacebar's kit, and here's where things get kind of interesting. So a lot of times we'll get a singular international kit, maybe like a Nordic kit or something similar. But here, they really went above and beyond. So you have a multitude of international kits available depending on where you are. So there's going to be a North kit, which will cover all of these areas here. There's going to be a South kit, which covers all of these areas over here, which is going to be Brazil, Spain, Portugal and Italy and things of that nature. Then there's a French kit here, which is going to help with your Azerty layout. So you have 3 different international kits here, depending on where you are. So that's pretty cool. Instead of just doing maybe one huge international kit, maybe you can save a little bit of money here. Because of the way Keycap works with their MOQs, it's a lot easier to do stuff like this and break down and put out as many kits as you want, because they'll pretty much always all hit. So
Yeah, and so Eskimo Joe and I were talking about this a while back. In fact, he shared these kits with me maybe a week or so ago in a DM. And I think he's been working on these with Deleted Vespine, so who sometimes watches the show as well. It really is an interesting take, because there is nothing... So even a Nordic kit that you see in the EU doesn't cover all of the language choices we have over here in the EU. We've got a much more diverse language set, just because we've got so many different countries.
It turns out there's a lot of countries in the EU.
Yeah, right, and
in the world.
Well, exactly. This covers a lot of that. So I'm sure from a history perspective, everyone will remember that places like Brazil were colonized from various different countries in the EU, and so was a lot of America. For example, New York used to be called New Amsterdam because it was set by the Danes and everything else. So all of that kind of stuff is kind of history, which is why, for example, the South kit covers Brazil and other things as well. But what's really interesting here is that you can get coverage for pretty much everything, and actually the one change I would make to this is that I would actually argue that the UK ISO keys, so not the ISO enter, that should remain in base as ISO coverage in terms of just broad ISO coverage. But I'd actually argue that the UK specific keys should be moved into one of these sets as well, because with a cat set, as you mentioned, Brian, the MOQs are so different. It's all based on the volume of keys that you sell rather than on the volume of individual kits. So it's all much more likely to make MOQ. There's no reason to worry about that risk to keys not being produced to create coverage as well. So really interested to see this, because pretty much everyone can cover whatever they need. Eskimo was saying that UK is in the base because he's a personal UK bias because he's from the UK. Fair enough. Yeah, I get that. I do, but if I completely understand why you would say that, but I would argue that it's almost worthwhile putting it in these other kits. In terms of the kits itself, there's a couple of things that I'm not familiar with the theme. Again, it kind of washes over me. There's a lot of this stuff, so I'm not familiar with that. I am intrigued by the use of lowercase alphas. I don't know how you feel about that, Brian.
I think it looks a little goofy, if I'm being honest. But I was having a look earlier through the renders, and I'm not entirely sure if the renders are going to be like 100% true to the actual finished product, because these legends look really bold. And I don't know if they're actually going to go for something like that, because I think it looks a little goofy when you try something like that. Something like DSA Magic Girl, for instance, which was also ran through Keycap, although a different profile, I think was actually pretty successful on doing the lowercase legends. I'm just not a fan of using really bold and huge legends. I like something a little bit more simple, a little bit more elegant. But obviously, I'm not the designer of the set, so that could be a total design choice I'm just, not a fan of.
Yeah. Well, there won't be molds for a start off because it's printed.
Yeah.
But I get your point. Yeah. I don't know, and this may be where it comes more to the source material that which various commands was taken from. I do ironically feel like the lowercase modifier legends work really well. I'm just not sure if it works on the alphas for me, but maybe that's just me. I think over the years I've gone away from liking the bold centralized legends like you see on SA keycaps to more preferring the GMK style where it's in the top left. I think over time I've just transitioned to preferring that look and feel myself. And then the only other thing which I did mention to Eskimo as well in private chat is that in the novelties key he's actually got some keycaps which are really, really dark purple, almost black, for the arrow keys, and then also there's a row 3 arrow pointing up as well for that modifier pack. But that's the only place those color keys actually exist. I'd like to see some, if you're going to have a couple of accents like that, it's usually nice to mirror them. I'd like to see maybe an escape key that would mirror that as well, and also maybe like a number enter or something like that. Yeah, just if you're going to have that modifier color somewhere, it makes sense to have it on more than just 5 keys and to actually spread it throughout the set a little bit more. But other than that, I think this has got a lot of potential, and I'm sure if people like the source material, which again, as I say, washes over me a little bit, but then I think this will do really well.
Press F in chat if you want Jay to watch Konosuba, because I want him to watch Konosuba.
Should we do a watch party where I watch an episode? I don't know. Is it a TV show? Is it a movie?
It's a show. It's a series. There's
okay.
There's a couple seasons out now, as well as a movie on the horizon, which is launching, I think, like in a couple days, actually, if I'm not mistaken. But it's not a terribly long show, but I like it quite a bit. It's kind of like a fantasy comedy kind of thing. But no, you're gonna hate it. But that's not the point. The point is I want you to watch it. And it seems like some people in chat want you to watch it as well. We gotta get Jay to watch. We gotta get Jay to watch an anime.
Okay, I have seen some. See, I'm not quite sure what the definition of anime is because I have seen some Japanese animated series. But yeah, okay.
Anyways.
Maybe this is another stream. Maybe this is another educate Jay on the wonders of anime streams.
Yeah. Anyways, I think the set does have potential. It's not my entire favorite, but I think it's going in the right direction. Legends, a little too bold for me, particularly on the alphas. The fact that they're lowercase doesn't really bother me at all, because I think there have been sets previously launched that have done it successfully. I think it can still be done successfully, but a little too bold on the alphas for me. Not even the Numroad either. Like, the Numroad actually looks fine to me. The legends are much thicker on just the alphas themselves, just on the letters, the Latin characters, if you will. So yeah, I'd like to see that change personally, but obviously, again, that's just one guy's opinion. Also, shout out to whoever did the renders, because one of the renders is on a tofu, and I always love seeing this, and I always point it out when I see it, because so often do you see boards key sets rendered on boards that are, very high end. Things like the M60, things like the TGR Jane, stuff like that. Things that cost a lot of money, several hundreds of dollars. And it's kind of fun because obviously there's so many more tofus out there in the wild that you could actually see it on a board that's very accessible and very approachable to the normal person, because that case only costs like $80. So
yeah,
I love seeing that.
If you click on the more button, there's actually more renders under there. And I was going to give a shout out to Eskimo Joe for doing an ISO render, but he's done it in US ISO, so I'm not going to call it out.
That's pretty weird. Why would someone who presumably is based in the UK? Let's be real here. Does he actually have that in the profile? Yeah. Okay. So he's in the United Kingdom, according to his geek profile.
He came to the UK meetup. Yeah.
So,
he came to the UK meetup on Saturday.
So why would you ever do US ISO renders?
I think I know why, but I'm not going to say. So I think I have a clue why. And if anyone else has checked out Keycap for Atlantis ISO threads, I suspect that might be why. Because yeah, anyway. But yeah, no, Eskimo Joe and I caught up at the weekend and we had a good chat. I didn't realize who he was until I actually saw a picture of the jacket he was wearing in the Discord server. Because of course the usual thing happens where people put name stickers on and they get covered up, but you can't quite see it, and it's awkward to go around after you've been speaking to someone for 2 minutes and try and look at the name tag. Of course, everyone sees my face, but I don't see other people's faces there 9 times out of 10. So I didn't realize it was him until later on. But yeah, I did click in the end. It was like,
it's always so awkward at meetups when like people walk up, you're like, hey, like. You're Quakeums or whatever. I like what you do, and I shake their hand. And I'm like, I'm like trying to like secretly look at their name tag because like I've probably never seen them before. So it's always kind of funny. It's always really awkward because I'm like because I can't see because I'm blind even with glasses. So I'm trying to look at this name tag.
Yeah, yeah. There was a few times like that. A few people from the UK Discords, and as I say, we actually had people come from all over the world. So we had one guy there from Australia. He travelled over for me from Australia. We had the people from my keyboard travelled over from where they are across. King Nesty came as well, and a few other names. But there were quite a few people from the EU, yeah, lots of people from the UK, and it was a really, really good day. Even my wife really enjoyed herself, which is she wasn't expecting to do. So yeah.
Nice, very nice. Anyways, back to the key set here because we've been on this topic for a little too long now.
Sorry,
this is the interest. No, it's all good. We're both pros at rambling. I think everyone knows that now. This is the interest check for Cat Lich. So coming soon, hopefully. Pretty nice interest check. Hoping to see where this goes. But anyways, moving away from key sets for now, let's talk a little bit about some other news here. So this is some springs, which actually Jay was showing off a little bit at the beginning of the stream during the mail call. This is the interest check for some lightweight ThicThock progressive switch springs. So those of you that maybe are a little unaware of what's going on lately as far as ThicThock springs are concerned, is they've been putting some more out, and I actually received some samples along with the marshmallow switches that they've been doing. I did a little bit of a write up on the website. You can check it out, topclack.com, if you want my opinions on the switches. But I also talked a little bit about the springs because they did send me both of their kind of flagship springs. So they have two series. They have the MP and the DL series. And the MP series stands for Magically Progressive, and the DL series stands for Deliciously Linear, both of which are completely silly names. However, I do think the springs themselves are pretty darn good. So the Deliciously Linear springs feel very akin to something that you find in a Gateron Yellow. It's a it's a very consistent, even weighting throughout the entire press. You hardly can feel it ramp up in weight at all. Whereas the MP Magically Progressive springs do have a very nice bouncy quality to them, and they feel very smooth and very consistent, and I was very happy about that. So
okay.
They weren't I will say though, just one real quick, they weren't as progressive as I was hoping. They are they do feel progressive, but it's not necessarily any more than, let's say, what Sprit V1 progressive springs felt like.
Okay. And see, that was exactly what I was going to ask you, because I've got the progressive ones here, and those are the ones I was most excited to try. And I think we're both in the same camp on this. Unusually, something we do agree on is that we want really highly progressive springs that almost take, next to no force, like 40 grams to start to move, but then bottom out like 120 grams, something really huge.
Really huge.
Between the weightings of them as well. So, so I was going to ask about how they were, but I'm excited to try these out. In fact, I think I'm going to try these out on Sunday if I've got time to do some full switches for the build stream then. Well, I haven't decided what I'm building yet, but I think these are going to go in the Nightmare when I build that, which is the TMO style board that I was looking at earlier on. When I actually get around to building that, I think those are going to go in there. So if that's on Sunday, then I'll try them out then. But yeah, I'm excited to try them out. The more spring providers we've got, the better. ThicThock seem to be wanting to really make the most of this. And as I say, they came to the UK meetup as well. ThicThock were there, Shoutouts. He was there. He was selling these springs as well. So keen to try them out and let you know, guys, what I think of them.
Yeah, so currently on their site, you can actually still buy them over on ThicThock's website, if I'm not mistaken. You can buy, they have the 68 gram magically progressive springs, and a 67.5 interesting weight for the deliciously linear. And so far, I'm a pretty big fan of both. But this interest check in particular is actually for a much lighter version. So they actually had a little bit of a vote, and the weight that everyone seems to be wanting the most is 53.5 grams, which is a pretty interesting weight. And that's actually very similar to the weight that I'm using on my current keyboard right now of 52 grams. But yeah, so very lightweight springs, but still progressive, which I feel like is going to be really, really tough. Because when I think of progressive, I think of, like Jay was mentioning before, something really dynamic, something that really changes massively, and you can't help but notice it every time you hit a key. Something similar to, like, it's kind of what I feel like when I type on, let's say, Cherry MX clears, which are relatively progressive. They actuate around, 55 or 60 grams, but they bottom out closer to 100 grams. It's a very big delta between those numbers. And a lot of the reason I think people are failing is because they're not really putting that huge delta that needs to be there. Like Jay was mentioning, something that actuates around 40 grams but bottoms out at 120. That's going to be really noticeable. This was also another reason I liked a lot of the earlier Hako and Halo switches, because that's something they really tried to do. Because the entire idea behind this is to ergonomically type properly on a keyboard, you don't bottom out your switches. You don't. Yeah. That's not healthy ergonomically. Nobody should be doing it, but let's be honest, the vast majority of us do. But admittedly, I like bottoming out more on switches that are more progressive, which is ironic because the idea behind the progression is that it's supposed to make you not bottom out.
Exactly. I couldn't agree more. I'd like to see some really, really heavy on the Delta side progressive switch springs. It's just something that you can really easily press at the top, but then as you start to get down, you can tell that you're having to force it down. Something really, really extremely heavy. But yeah, just to see how that feels. And it might be that we're completely wrong and we try them and we hate them. But I definitely want to try something like that.
Well, it's nothing entirely new. Like, they have been around. Like I was mentioning before, the Hako and Halo clears and trues. The trues in particular are a pretty progressive spring, all things considered.
Yeah, I still think there's quite a big gap from that to what I'd like to see and like to try, though. Either way, I think there's definitely a market for them, and we should. Hopefully someone will at some point come up with something that is as progressive as we'd like to see.
For sure. With that in mind, though, back to what I was trying to actually say here is, with the bottom out weight of 53.5, I feel like it's going to struggle to really feel truly progressive, because with that type of bottom out force compression, you have to have an actuation force so much lighter than that to really achieve any kind of, like, real progressive feel. And I feel like while the springs themselves are probably going to be quite good as springs themselves, they're not really going to be very progressive feeling, and that's kind of a bummer.
Yeah, and as I was kind of disappointed with the Sprit progressive, so I'm hoping that these do feel a little bit better. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Regardless, a couple quick specs here. So the MOQ is going to be 10, apparently. I'm assuming this is supposed to be 10,000, but he put a period there instead of a comma. So I like the idea of having an MOQ of 10.000.
No, I think a lot of Asian communities and some even EU communities use a period instead of a comma to delineate the difference between 1,000 and units. So yeah.
Sure. Yeah. And there's going to be a minimum order quantity of 100 springs, pretty normal there, and a pack of 100 is going to cost you about $10.50, presumably USD, without shipping. And they're working on proxies as well. So, interesting. Very interesting. Anyways, speaking of switches, there are more coming out. So this is an interest check for Bushi switches, which is based on the GMK Red Samurai colorway. There's going to be two varieties here, a tactile and a linear, and they're going to be a little bit different in terms of color. So the tactile version is going to have a red stem and yellow housing, 67-gram bottom-out force spring, and the composition of plastic is going to be nylon PA bottom, polycarbonate top, and palm stem. Nothing terribly different there. The linear version is going to be effectively the same 67-gram bottom-out spring, same yellow housing, same plastic composition, but it's going to use a gray stem instead of a red stem. Interestingly enough, they're also going to have a difference in price between those two. So the tactile switch is going to be 50 cents a piece, and the linear switch is going to be 40 cents a piece, which doesn't include PayPal fees and shipping, of course. So this is going to be manufactured by Durock, and I know a lot of people are excited to see that, because a lot of people like a lot of the switches Durock makes, and a lot of people are going to be maybe upset about this because of some of the drama around Durock that's happened in the not-so-distant past. But regardless of that, just a couple more specs before Jay drills me here on a bunch of past information. The MOQ typical of Durock here is only going to be 10,000 for each variety, which is very, very low, as we all know. MOQs for Switches, 10,000, 20,000, really not that hard to hit, honestly. They usually always hit, as far as the as long as the Switch is popular enough, I guess. But yeah. So that's pretty interesting. So go on, Jay.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
No, I'm just going to agree. I just think
okay.
It's great to see that we've got more Switch options, and I know there's been drama around Durock before and in the past and things like that, but more and more people are starting to use them. We're starting to see more products coming from them. There's multiple manufacturers that are popping up now. I think we've got to a point whereby previous misdemeanors, whatever you want to call them, issues, everything else, I think we've got to a point now where we can start to accept into the community companies that have reformed and are using their own brand with their own naming conventions for their own Switches, or with partners such as Anonymous, who's gone to them to produce these ones as well. So I'd like to think that as a community we're past that drama, and that doesn't need to be revisited anymore, and that people are comfortable with moving forwards and moving on with new products, and expanding the market and increasing that competition that's out there. I know a lot of people feel like there's too many Switches on the market. I disagree with that and say that competition's great, and
you can never have too many.
They'll speak for themselves, and there'll be a market for them either way. So Gio's disagreeing with me.
That's fine. That's totally fine. Yeah,
I think it is fine. I think it's just better for the market if we all learn to provide rehabilitation, to allow people to move on and to progress. It's not about forgiveness necessarily. It's more about moving forward in the right ways and perpetrating the right behaviors going forwards. Gio, I know, I love you, and I know it's something that we'll always disagree on, but I just can't see a world in where we hold grudges against companies and things for things that they've done, where they're clearly trying to improve and they're clearly trying to make things better for the community they want to be part of, and they're trying to move in the right direction and do the right things. I think if we've got evidence that that's what they're trying to do, that should be taken as an apology in and of itself. And I like to think that we're grown up enough to understand and appreciate that going forwards.
Yeah, but obviously everyone's free to have their own opinion. Everyone can look at it how they want. We've beat this drama to death on the show multiple times already. There's no point in doing it again today. So regardless, this is the Switch going on. So if you're interested in some Red Samurai colorway Switches, which is kind of interesting because Red Samurai, it's been a little while since Red Samurai ran, and I feel like it's fallen a little bit in terms of overall popularity. So it's interesting to see this come out now.
You say that it's actually running on drop right now with those revised base kits as well. So I say it's running on drop. It's literally a very specific series of base kits you can buy with very limited compatibility. The actual set itself as a whole, where you can fit out for any keyboard, is not running at the moment.
Yeah,
hopefully we'll
Drop is doing Drop's thing. I'm not going to consider that a GMK Red Samurai run because it's really not. It's only 3 fixed base kits that are meant to fit the 3 flagship boards that Drop has. That's it. And to me, that's just them supporting their own product, which is fine, but that's not a run of GMK Samurai, in my opinion.
Agree, yeah.
So, yeah. Cool. Moving on, we have another interest check for more Durock linears, and this interest check is kind of comical to me. So this comes from Vicare G, who actually just recently finished a group buy for T1 Switches, of course manufactured by Durock, if I'm not mistaken. And this is his follow-up. So this is a very, very, very simple interest check. Just for Durock linear Switches. They have no real specs so far. He does have listed clear housing, black stem, and 67-gram gold springs. However, he does also say they can pretty much vote for whatever color they like and they can change it. So this is effectively just very broadly an IC for linear Switches from Durock. Nothing necessarily set in stone, which I thought was kind of interesting and a little funny to have so little focus in an interest check, I suppose.
Yeah, so I've not met Vickery. He's part of the UK community, and he runs I forgot the name of his store now, but he does run a store here. the mind's gone blank for a second. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, these things happen. But he's always been pretty good at arranging group buys for switches. I know he did the T1s, and that was really successful quite recently. I think he now wants to do the same thing for some linear switches. I think this is for me. This is almost a pre-IC. It's kind of a case of I'm gonna do some linears with Durock. What should I do, guys? This is where you want to tell me. So this is what I want to do in terms of the weighting. You tell me about what color housing you want, all that kind of stuff, and then I can absolutely see that the group bar run with some success from there. Great to see something else running from the UK as well. Nice to see.
Yep, cool. So very, very simple interest check. However, speaking of switches, let's talk about our sponsors. Our first up is I'm gonna call one of the prodigal sons of keyboard switches, Zeal, over at zealpc.net, aka Zeal Generation, which you can find over at zealpc.net/TopClack, which will be our affiliate link, and that'll help us out a lot if you do want to support TopClack when you do buy things from Zeal. He's got his pretty normal array of things, not a whole lot else going on right now, but he does have all of his glorious switches in stock, so whether you want something linear, like the Telios, something tactile, like the Zelios, something silent, like the Xylence or the Helios, he definitely has a wide range and he's got you covered. They're all very, very nice. I still use them to this day quite a bit. In fact, the Zelio V2 is still probably my favorite switch in the community right now. So be sure to check that out if that's something you haven't seen yet. Again, zealpc.net/TopClack helps us out a ton.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're also interested in looking at novel keys, our second sponsor of today, GMK Pretty in Pink is still available. It's also available with I think Dixie, Novel Keys, My Keyboard, and a host of other vendors as well. It technically is supposed to finish today in the US. I think but it's still up at the minute. So if you guys haven't already got this, I hope you pass it in chat and tell us how well this is doing. But I'd like to think that everyone,
there is an updated number. We've passed MOQ finally. Yes, yeah. I think the last count was somewhere a little above 400. So good job, guys. Okay. We actually made an awesome add-on kit where profits go to charity. A thing. This is actually happening, which is very nice.
Yeah, excellent. So guys, you're right at the very end of that. So grab that today if you haven't already. Do the thing, click the button, send the monies, all of that kind of good stuff as well. In terms of the rest of Novel Keys lineup this week, you can also take a look at the GMK Greek Beige add-ons. If you want some Greek in your life, some Greek keys, that's available right now, and it adds a bit of a touch of class to all of your L9 based sets. So your OG sets, your 9009 sets, all of that kind of stuff, and designed by Lightning 9 as well. If you want something a little bit different, then you can pick up any of the standard switches and all of that kind of good stuff as well on here. So Novel Keys has always been great with all the different switches. I think Inks were back in stock briefly. I think we're going to have to wait for them for a while to come back now. But there's all the other switches that Mike's been well known for on there too. If you're looking for something a little bit cheaper in terms of key sets, if you're looking for something for a little bit more in the budget of the market, something for maybe a work board or something for a friend or colleague, and then you can check out the black on white cubic keycaps as well. For just $40 you can get a really nicely well rounded out base kit, which covers pretty much everything you could possibly need from an ANSI layout perspective as well. And the final thing to say is, if you do buy anything from Novel Keys, if you use our code CLACKERS, you'll get 5% off on the checkout as well. So that's CLACKERS, 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 all one word. And as I say, that'll give you 5% discount. Yep.
Heck yes. Next up on our sponsor list for today's episode is Input Club over at Kono.store. They have a few things going on right now, including GMK Firefly, which is the last day to get it, guys. So if you do want GMK Firefly, this is the last day for the group buy. $120 base kit. Pretty inexpensive and a pretty good-looking set, if I do say so myself. They also have White Foxes and Night Foxes back in stock. So if you've been looking to check out maybe a pretty inexpensive 65% keyboard, or maybe something, a Christmas present for a friend or a family member, that could be a pretty good idea there. There, of course, is still the pre-order open for the Keystone keyboard, which uses that sweet, sweet analog Hall effect technology. Really looking forward to getting our hands on one of these. Hopefully they can send one through in the near future. And finally, pretty interestingly enough, they do have, let me see if I can find it on here. Maybe they changed it right now. They actually had... Okay, it is still up. They just have it labeled wrong. So they do have a GMK 9's pre-order open right now. So this set is actually running again, which is kind of interesting. So $140 base kit will get you the base kit for GMK 9. So maybe if you missed out on the previous group buy, now's your chance to grab one for pre-order again.
Awesome. If you do want to check out our Eastern friends, you can look at KBDfans.com. So Way over at KBDfans has got an awful lot of amazing stuff as well, especially towards the budget end of the market. So just starting out in terms of group buys at the moment, there's a couple of key sets that are available right now. There's 2 SA ones. There's SA Mochoco, which is kind of a green and cream and pink accented key set. There's also Max Key's Virtual War SA as well, which is all yellows and greys and whites and looks remarkably good, I must say. It's kind of very attractive, I think, for an SA kit. So if you guys are interested in either of those, you can feel free to pick those up. Also, just want to shout out that Way and Co do have some really great kits that are really great prices as well. So you guys can pick up all sorts of things such as the KBD 67 Mark II and a ton of other DIY kits for pretty much every size you could possibly want, whether you want a 40%, a 60%, a 65%, whether you want a TKL or whether you want a full size. Broadly, over the terms of the past couple of months, they've had group buys for pretty much every size that you could possibly want. And also a big shout out to their budget market as well. So they do have their B stock market, which is where there's been some returns and things like that as well. But you can always get some great bargains in that remit as well. I was looking earlier on today, and they've got some tofu cases for as low as $60 and things like that as well. So there's always some really nice things in there to be able to get for a bargain for a bit of a beater board or work board or a travel board or something like that if it's up your street.
Yeah, absolutely. And last but not least, we have the wonderful Key Company, our newest sponsor. Has a few things going on right now. GMK Phosphorus, still up for group buy. Today is also the last day for this. So if you have been looking at GMK Phosphorus, now's the time to get it, guys. They also have desk mats and Rama caps available alongside those. It has met MOQ, so it will be made, and it is looking good. But today, last day for the group guys. We're all group guys now. Next up, they also have the Molly, which is still in currently group buy format, where you can get all sorts of awesome configurations of that as well. It's based on the iconic Apple M0110A, and I think it looks quite beautiful, if I do say so myself. Also have a couple other things going on. The RMK style t-shirts, which I believe are designed by Clavier, have also been put up for sale very recently in a variety of sizes and a few different colors, white, black, and navy. Those are looking pretty nice. You can get those for about starting at $24, depending on your size. And very interestingly enough, I don't think it's actually on this front page, but let me try to find it, guys. There is going to be a rerun of GMK DMG, which actually opens, here it is, it opens tomorrow, November 1st, and this is pretty interesting. So, GMK DMG obviously didn't ship too long ago. It was actually quite recent, only a couple months, I think, a month or two at most. And they're doing a round 2, which is pretty awesome. So this one, if you missed out on GMK DMG and you wanted it, you can actually get it at an even cheaper price than the round 1 by a full $20. I think it was $169 for round 1, $149 for round 2. So very nice, pretty darn nice base kit with a lot of accents and such. So glad to see that running again, even if it is very soon. So, yeah, make sure to check that out tomorrow, guys. And it's not going to be open for very long. It's going to be shorter than normal group buys for them. So, only about 2 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I've still not opened my DMG, so I need to
How have you not opened DMG yet? It's like one of the best sets in existence.
That Space Cadet, one of my Deep Space sets, and Laser have never even been unsealed. They're just still sat there.
Alright. Yeah. Well, you're an absolute madman for not using one of the best GMK sets to ever exist. But anyways, now we are going to start our Q&A segment for today's show, guys. So if you guys have questions, we hopefully have the answers. Maybe some of them will be good, maybe some of them will be bad. So yeah, get those questions in now, guys. If you use the @TopClack tag, it'll help us out a lot. We can see the questions a lot easier. So let's get those going, guys, before we head out for the night. Helpingly subs with a Twitch Prime sub. So thank you very much, Helpingly. Thank you so much.
Nice, dude, nice. Langlandia just shouting out as well. It's the last day for Cafe 2, and then he goes, last day for Cafe. Yeah, I bought it, dude. Don't worry. It was the first thing I did when I got back off holiday. Actually, I got back off the plane and we were sat waiting for the guys to drop the car back off so I could jump in the car and drive home. I was just stood there on my phone, and that was when I ordered it. Just got the kits I wanted. Yeah, in fact, I'm interested to see what numbers actually did run Langlandia. So if you've got an updated numbers,
yeah, I think it was pretty successful.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was like 500 base units.
At least 5, yeah.
Yeah, well, 5. Yeah, 5 would be a good start. That's just 5 base kits.
Yeah, come on, man! Don't do me like that, Jay. Don't do me like that. Boy314 is asking trick or treat. I'm gonna go with trick. I'm gonna go with trick on this one.
Yeah, so boy, we need to see the trick from you as well.
If it's a link, I'm not opening it on show. I'm just not doing it. Just not gonna do it. Sorry. I don't open random links on the show unless I'm positive it's not something ridiculous.
Okay, next question comes from Gio. It says, I would ask more questions, but Jay would get mad. Hey, I don't get mad. I'll talk about anything. I think everyone, is entitled to opinion.
Yeah, we've beat the Durock drama to death on this show before. It's something we don't really need to keep talking about, I feel like. But that could just be my opinion. Langley asking, what is your favorite random fact you tell others? Interesting. Random fact that you tell others about yourself, presumably.
So if you take an average lightning bolt, you can toast about 100,000 slices of bread with the energy that's contained in the lightning bolt.
Wow. Oh, man. Do I have random facts? Oh, yes, I do have a random fact. White chocolate is not legally chocolate. That's a good fact. There you go.
Nice. There's another really interesting one. So the Netherlands in the EU, they have such a low crime rate that they can't fill their prisons, so they actually contract out to other countries to take prisoners in as well. So there you go. 2 random facts.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, they import prisoners, right? What? Because why not? Because they need to fill a jail.
I don't know what to say to that, Jay. All right. Leslie also says thanks for the cafe. Heck yeah. All right. Nice. JT Jet asking, what are your guys' favorite Alps switches? Good question.
Browns. Alps Browns.
Brown. In terms of what switch from Alps I like the most, it's probably the Alps Brown, SKCM Brown, like Jay. However, I would give a strong recommendation to the switch that everyone doesn't care about and forgets about. The SKCM White. It's a very, very inexpensive switch, and it's a good switch. It is a good clicky switch, Jay. I don't care what faces you're going to make at me. It is a good clicky switch, and they're widely accessible, and they're very, very inexpensive. Because I like value. It's not always about the best and most expensive in my life. It's always about price to performance as well. In which case, Alps Browns are actually pretty awful in terms of price to performance, in my opinion. Because I like Zelio V2s better, and they're way cheaper.
Yeah, but the question
they're also not Alps, though.
Favorite switch, not what is your best value for money.
Which is why I gave my favorite switch answer first. I said SKCM Browns first. Relax, Jay. Come on. I was just adding a little bit more to the question. But yes, it's SKCM Browns. If I have to pick one Alp switch to rule them all, Browns.
Yeah. I actually have them in a board just beside me here. They went down rather well at the meetup. Everyone loved that board. But yeah. So Langlandia is saying it's about 870 base kits without extras. That's huge. That's really
very successful. Yeah. Anything remotely close to 1,000 is very successful.
Yeah, see, I was going to say, because when Cafe first came out, I was hoping it was going to ship in 2019, and I thought it would be the set of the year, but it's technically going to be a 2020 set now, because I don't think it's going to ship this year.
It's not going to be up for Mech Madness. What a bummer.
Well, Dixie might change the rules, right? He might.
It's true.
Have different rules.
It's true.
My view on it, it has to be delivered in the year to be.
That does make sense. It has to be within people's grasp. It can't be an idea. It can't just be an idea.
Exactly. You can't vote for something being the best if it hasn't actually been produced. So
Yes.
That's my view on it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Also, he forgot to tag us, but we didn't skip a question. WT 1155. Make sure to use that @TopClack tag next time. Helps us out a lot. He's asking, what good spring recommendation for Yak Red Holy Pandas? So I don't know if I'm in the minority here, but I kind of just like the normal 67 gram spring. I've done a lot of testing. I've used much heavier springs. I've used much lighter springs, and much heavier really ruins the character. Even at about 72 grams, you start to lose a lot of the characteristics that I think a Holy Panda is well notable for.
My vote goes for 72 gram springs for Holy Pandas.
Really?
All the way through. Yeah. I think that's just the perfect way. You don't have any return problems on any of the larger keys or the stabilized keys or anything like that. I think that's just where it sits. I can see you.
All right. Well, I'm gonna very unrespectfully disagree, but yeah, I think 72 gram was fine. It's manageable, but I really do feel like once you cross that threshold, you really start to lose a lot of the characteristics of Holy Pandas. And conversely, if you start to go much lighter than 67 grams, even starting at 62 or even a little bit lower than that, at around 58, you start to have returning issues, particularly with the stabilized keys, and it starts to feel a little off. So I personally,
63.
Yeah, and I mean, I discovered Holy Pandas, so clearly my opinion is the right one and the only one that matters. I'm kidding. Clearly, I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. But no, I do like 67 gram the best. I think it's the best balance.
Sure. Okay. I mean, we're only talking about a difference of 5 grams. It's not huge, but yeah, I agree.
I will say, while I thought 72 gram was questionable, 78 gram was not a Holy Panda. It's not a Holy Panda anymore. Totally different feel.
If you put 78 grams in there, then yeah, it doesn't actually. It still sounds like a Holy Panda, but it doesn't feel like one. I would agree at that point. That has crossed the limit. That is higher than the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah, definitely.
Next question comes from Silent Saint. It says, I know I asked this question last year, but what do you think will be this year's low participation sleeper set? So I think we've already had this low participation sleeper set. So I think it's difficult to quantify this year because everything since July has just sold in huge numbers. And it's not seeming to slow down at the minute. Everything. There's been a couple like Froyo that struggled, but I think the biggest sleeper set that we had this year was Shoko. It struggled to sell when it was in group buy towards last year. In fact, it was open for a lot longer than most people expected. And then when it arrived, everyone loved it. I mean, I got my set quite early thanks to my Keyboard.eu folks. Shipped me out the day they got them in. They just sent mine straight on, which was really nice of them. And from the minute I opened it and started to post some pictures, I knew it was going to go down really well. I thought it looked great, it looked fantastic. And since then, we've seen it on the aftermarket for $400 a pop, and people are looking all over for it. And I think there's even talks of round 2 happening now. So I think for me this year, it was the sleeper set we've already seen was Shoko.
Interesting. Yeah. So does this question mean sleeper set as in set that ran this year or set that was delivered in 2019?
It doesn't say either way, but I feel like you always have to go with delivered stuff. Otherwise,
if it's delivered, I think the first run of GMK DMG, which just barely met MOQ. It sold like 10 or 20 over the minimum MOQ, so really small amount of units, honestly. But it's selling pretty well on the aftermarket, which has led to the round 2 coming up on TKC tomorrow. So I think as far as sets that shipped this year, DMG definitely. As far as sets that have been ran this year, I'm still staying with TKC on this one. I think Phosphorus is actually going to be a hit.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think Phosphorus looks great. I think it'll do. The thing is, I know it wasn't quite at MOQ, but I think it will, be more than past MOQ. And
it did pass MOQ, but not a whole lot. I think it's only about 40 or 50 sets above MOQ right now. So, selling 300 GMK sets is still relatively low these days, all things considered, with so many sets selling 500 or more.
And and this is why this question's so hard, because if you'd gone and asked us this question last summer, we'd have classed any set that barely sold 250 or, if it was 150 MOQ set, then we'd have classed that as being low. But now we've got a whole new bar of what low is. It's kind of hard to justify. And I suspect this time next year we'll be in even a more different position. We might be saying, next year might be the first set that we get a 5,000 set sale for. We might sell 5,000 kits or something like that. So yeah, it's interesting to see. And I think sleeper sets are going to become more and more rare because of that, because the actual volume of units that sell is going to increase in number. But then as the volume of people in the community grow, those are going to be condensed anyway. So it depends on which grows faster. For me, I think DMG is a fine answer. I haven't even opened mine, so I can't even comment on it too much. But I think Shoko would be, for me, the one that's delivered this year, even though it didn't necessarily win this year.
Yeah, Shoko, definitely a very underrated set that struggled at the beginning of its launch.
Yeah.
Great question, by the way, though. Great
it is a good question. Yeah.
10 Strong with our next question, asking, thoughts on the new GMK Ashes kit? Personally, I'm quite disappointed. Remove the spacebar assortment in the base of accented. All accents have been cut. There's a second ISO in alpha color, but only one ONSI enter. Novelties got thrown into 40s. Interesting. I'm gonna open up. I'm gonna open up this Keycap one.
I'm just looking at it, just as you read through. Yeah, so the ANSI versus the ISO enter is really weird. There's both the ISO enters, but there's only one ANSI. I agree. That shouldn't be the case. In my view, if that's the design, then I would disagree with it. So Tyson, if you're watching, I know you do sometimes. I would fix that for certain.
It's an interesting thought too, because Tyson is based in the U.S., so you would think he would gravitate more to ONSI compatibility versus ISO.
I think that enter key's an oversight. I think it's just been missed.
It could be, yeah. Still an interest check. You never know, guys. You can't really say anything's final until it actually goes into group buy, and even then, it's not necessarily final because we see situations like GMK Hammerhead where they just get taken down and reworked before they're relaunched again. So.
Yeah, I think I'm fine with the other decisions in the kit. So I'm not going to touch on the Ghost kit because that is what it is. But in terms of the extension kit, I kind of feel like that's not a bad place for those novelty keys to go. I think it makes the kit a bit more chunky, which probably brings down the whole it makes things easier to hit MOQ. So I think that's fine, and more people get what keys they need. But effectively, then you've just got two kits, base and extension, right? I think that's okay. In terms of the Ghost kit, I mean, personally, I prefer the other alphas. As much as I love monochrome sets, I think it's a little bit too light to have it as all as a monochrome set personally. But I think it's a fine set. It covers pretty much everything. It has a space bar, has the ISO keys that you'd need, or just basic ISO. That doesn't cover the UK ISO that the base kit has. But I think the only tweak I would make to the base kit there is to put the ANSI enter back in for the accent color. I think that's the big change I'd make. I can't see, and I am on the spot here just glancing at it, so forgive me if I miss anything else.
Yeah.
But I think that's the only thing I would do. Maybe to annoy our low-numbered US ISO users, I'd remove that row 3 pipe / key, but I'm being facetious on that one. I'm just trying to find
the support here is actually pretty good.
I think it's fine. I think it's just that ANSI enter, right? The ANSI enter. That's the only thing that's missing.
I can't see any other like real issues with it. Let's see what else did 10 Strong mention? Remove the spacebar assortment in base of accented. So the Ghost kit's a little weird. I think bolstering the secondary alphas with the spacebars could be kind of weird. I think it's going to depend a lot on the pricing of that particular kit, because if that is too high, I think it's going to turn a lot of people off. But, I don't think any other set has done that particular combination before, so it's maybe a little too early to say whether that or not that's going to be successful.
Yeah, and I have to be honest, I wouldn't want to use the lighter space bars with that base kit anyway.
I wouldn't either.
Space bar, I think it looks much nicer from that perspective. I think 10 Strong, it's fine. It's fine that you've got your own opinion if you disagree.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the point of an IC. I think that base kit's fine. I do think the ANSI enter needs to be added. I'm going to guess that that's just an oversight, but I do think that needs to be added. But other than that, I think it's all right. I'm comfortable with that base kit.
And as far as like the novelties with the 40s and Ortho kit, it's still a really small kit. I think it's still going to be no more expensive than any other 40s kit, so it's kind of an interesting idea. I think that's a more interesting idea than doing the secondary alphas with the spacebars. But again, I think this is kind of the first time we've seen either of those combinations in terms of a kit for sale. So it's really going to depend on the price, and then once it actually hits the market, we'll see. It could be really successful. It could totally bomb. We don't really know yet. I think it's too early to tell. All right. Moving on.
Jeff Leopard calling you out, saying that the Yoks actually come with a 60-gram bottom out spring, not the 67-gram spring that came with the original Holy Pandas, or with the original Panda switches. Sorry. So there you go.
Do all Yoks come with a 60-gram spring?
Pass. I don't think I've ever kept a stock spring in a Yok, if I'm honest. So I couldn't swear to that. I've always changed them.
Ah, okay. I thought that the red pandas had 67-gram. My bad.
Just a shout out to Elan003, subscribed at tier 1. Thank you very much, Badu. Thank you for the subscription.
Thank you. All right. WT1155 is asking, what are your top contenders for board of the year? Not sure if you want to categorize between 65, 75, etc. No, I think categorizing, you don't really need to categorize. You can have a board of the year without having subdivisions for every single percentage.
Okay, so before you give an answer, let's go on boards that have delivered in 2019.
Delivered, yes.
Rather than just run. Let's be clear, this is boards that have delivered in 2019.
Okay, so if you guys maybe have been watching for a while, you remember at the beginning of the year, my trio that I was most looking forward to at the beginning of this year was the Sirius from Project Keyboard, the Thermal from RamaWorks Foundry / Wilbatech, and the Polaris from AIO3 and KBDfans. The Polaris and the Thermal have both ran in group buy, but have not shipped yet. However, the Sirius has. So by default, the Sirius is my favorite current board of 2019.
Interesting. Okay. So I'm going to give two answers to this one. I'm going to give a flippant answer, JO1. But really, I think my favorite board that's delivered this year that I've bought into is the Borsdorf, which is an Alps AEK board, which I have just here. So I think this one, so this is the one I built on stream a couple of weeks ago, with that lovely side profile curve and everything else. That's definitely my pick for this year, for what's delivered from what I've had. It's just genuinely a lovely board, and I'm really happy with it and really impressed with it.
Brilliant.
In terms of things that I didn't buy that's run, it's hard to pick. I mean, there's going to be so many. People are going to talk about all of the Janes and everything else that's run this year and delivered and stuff like that. But I can't think of anything that I didn't get that I'm actively searching for. I actively want. So I think I don't have any other great answer to it than that.
Yeah, that's a great question though.
It is, yeah.
Great question. Yeah, I'm glad the Sirius are starting to ship now. A lot of people have already been receiving them, so I've been happy to see that it actually it hit the deadline. That group I ran in May, I think, and it had a 5-month lead time. It was supposed to ship in October, and guess what? It started shipping in October. Very nice.
Nice.
Very nice.
That's good. Yeah. The only other one that I would call out on, and that I have that I don't know if I've shipped yet or not, is the Satisfaction 75, because I do use that an awful lot, and I've got that on my. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's just here on my shelf behind. I think it's just off stream, but you might just be able to see it. There, that's the corner of it. But I don't know if that's shipped yet or not for the actual group buy runners. That's one of the early prototype models, so I don't know if it's actually shipped yet.
Yeah, definitely. And also, just an aside, just because I've been talking about value all the time, that's how I rate contenders for board of the year. Price to performance, performance to dollar, whatever you want to call it. It's not necessarily the most intense board. Like I could go say like the Kepler or the Jane or something truly awesome, because those are awesome boards. But the Sirius, I think the Sirius provides so much experience for your dollar. It's too hard for me to ignore it.
How much was the Sirius again? I can't remember how much I paid for mine.
I think it started at somewhere around $250 with a PCB or $230 with a PCB. Okay. It was well under $300 for a full kit, which is very nice for a full kit these days.
Yeah, I think that's the reason why I like the Borsdorf so much as well, is just the price point, because the only other board that's similar to it is the Luna with that like curve on it. Oh yeah,
$225. There you go. It was $225 without a PCB, I think. It came with a palm plate default.
Okay. And the only thing is I don't know how much the next round of Borsdorf is going to run for, so I'm hoping I'm not shooting Darth in the foot when I say it. But the actual Borsdorf was manufactured by Salvan, and I think for the whole kit, I think it was 130 euros, which is about 135 US dollars for the whole kit. So bang for buck, it was by far one of the cheapest boards I've got. But it's CNC alloy, it's Cerakoted, it came with the carbon fiber plate, it came with a fully working PCB, it's USB-C, all of that kind of stuff. So for the price, I was really impressed. I'm sure the group by price might be different, but the Founders Edition was 135 euros, I think. So yeah, really good.
Definitely. All right, Existentially Yours did host us for 4 viewers. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate that,
nice.
My friend.
Thank you. Yeah.
Big thumbs up there. All right, scaling through. I think we are fully caught up on questions. Yes, we are. Awesome. All right, so we'll just give one last shout out, guys. So if you have any last minute questions before we head off, get them in now, because we are planning to take off momentarily. Trying to keep this well under 3 hours today. And with how short our news doc was, that should be quite doable, as long as we don't get too lost here in the Q&A.
Absolutely. So a couple of quick shout-outs before we answer any final questions that come in. Big thanks to Geo for joining our mod team. So we've now got Not Geo and Geo. So that's not going to get confusing at all. We will be doing a Secret Santa. Brian and I will try and get a form up for entries and some rules and stuff between now and next week's show. And then we'll formally announce it on next week's show. But I want to start trying to run this quite early so we can make sure people have got time to ship things out. This week, in terms of other streams, I'll be doing a build stream on Sunday. So interestingly, the clocks have changed last week in the UK, so we started the show at 1 a.m. for me instead of 2 a.m. But they change going into Sunday in the US, so it's going to be a little bit weird. But then I also have to delay the stream for an hour on Sunday. So I hope I've worked the times out. But as far as I can tell, the stream should be on Sunday an hour later than what it usually is in the US. So it will be at 9 p.m. UK time, which I think is 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's going to be the build stream on Sunday this week. And the reason I'm delaying it is because the Formula One's on, which is the US Grand Prix, and that finishes roughly about 9 o'clock night time. So that's when the stream's going to start as soon as that race is over. I haven't decided what I'm going to build yet. I still haven't sorted through after the meetup, so I've got quite a few different projects on. So I think there's a choice between what I can see right now. We've got an SKB, potentially the Keyhive Nightmare board, which is probably quite fitting for this week. In fact, it probably will be this because it's to hand and it's easy to do, so it's probably going to be that. Or it could be the Royal 66, which I want to rebuild as well, because that's all stuff that I've got ready for building. So yeah,
definitely. My build queue, I'm still waiting on a few boards to come in, but right now I do have the Perry 60 V2 in. I might build that tomorrow. We'll see. I'm not feeling particularly well today. It's taking a lot of energy just to do this show today, if I'm being totally honest. So I don't know. Depending on how I feel tomorrow, I may or may not be doing that build stream, but I'll try to get it done very soon, if nothing else.
Cool. Okay. I think that's it for streams and content.
Yep.
Coming up, I can't think of anything else to shill and tell you guys to watch.
Speaking of shilling, check below the stream. You can find our official Discord link down there if you want to come hang out with us, as Jay is pointing downwards. Yes, you can join our official Discord there, hang out with us, play games. There's channels for everyone. There's always something to talk about, always people hanging out and chatting about stuff, as well as our YouTube channel. So if you want to catch any of the VODs that you see here on stream, maybe some other typing tests or other content, you can check out from there as well. So thank you guys so much for watching today's show. Any closing thoughts, Jay?
Frisco Melt saying buy Pretty in Pink. I actually just bought another set of it during the show as well. While we're talking about Novel Keys, I was just ordering a set as well. So yeah, I've just bought a set through Novel Keys as well. So yeah, go buy Pretty in Pink before it closes. Support that great charity. And I think that's it. I think we've covered everything else. So yeah, we'll see you again soon, guys. Yeah.
Everyone have a great rest of your day.